Oregon might be the best team in college football that has never won a national championship. They have had some insane teams in the last few decades, but they got beat to a first championship by Indiana, so I have to step in, and not just for one title, but for 10 seasons. I have decided to bring back the challenges list for this, which might be bad for my bank account because every challenge I don't complete in 10 years, I have to give away a copy of College Football 27 to one of you. But I'm very excited to play with the Ducks, not just because of their jerseys, but it's just going to be a fun time taking them over. As you can see, our roster looks good. We might even make a deep playoff run this year. Dante Moore returned to school. That is a major deal. He might be the best quarterback in college football, and we get to work with him. But outside of him, Oregon also got Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola to transfer in to sit behind him for a season, so he'll be leading us next year. And I think you can understand that building depth at Oregon should be something that we are very comfortable with. I'm expecting us to be signing a lot of top 5 classes, but we're only going to go after players that are originally interested in our school. So these are some of those names that are just going to get points every week, which does include 3 quarterbacks that I just want to bring in for more competition, especially this guy from Lexington, Kentucky. I got to give Kentucky some love. 94 throw power, 84 speed. I don't want Louisville to get him. But we also have positions like running back and receiver where there's just not that much depth on this team, so we're going to be looking for that, whether it's with 5 stars or 4-star gyms, where there isn't that much pressure to sign huge classes because we only have 8 seniors and 8 juniors over the next 2 seasons. We also have Dan Lanning as our head coach, which does really excite me because I never get to use Program Builder. There is stuff in here that would make it easier for us to maintain our coordinators. We could make it so players might not go to the NFL. They're not as likely to leave. And all of that ties back into this challenges list that I have to somehow complete everything on in 10 seasons. I don't want to fail a single one. However, I can only play 1 regular season game every season with Oregon. So for a lot of this season, we're just going to be simulating. And our first couple games went pretty well, especially offensively, but this is where things get tough. We have number 25 UCLA coming to town, and then we go on the road to number 9 Ohio State. We have got a lot of tough teams in the Big Ten on our schedule this year, so I think what we're going to do is we're just going to simulate against the Bruins, then we're going to play the Buckeyes, where before we even get to our game against Ohio State, we have picked up our first commit. It was not at the best of times, though, because UCLA beat us. We've already picked up 1 loss this season. We lose 3 games. We're not going to be in the playoffs. Dante Moore played horrendously, so that just puts a lot of pressure on us early to not lose at Ohio State as well, or we could already have 2 losses in season 1. If I were to somehow go this entire video without getting Oregon a national championship, I don't even know how I would feel. It might be one of the most devastating fails ever, especially since I grew up watching Marcus Mariota. That's why I fell in love with college football in the first place, but I'm throwing interceptions like I always do. Dante Moore is not having a great time. And let's just say, as time winds down in the 4th quarter, there is nothing I can do to overcome this deficit. This was straight BTA for the Ducks. We got obliterated. And I think one of the issues we've had in the last 2 weeks is one of our best defensive tackles, Bear Alexander, has been out with a broken tailbone. He's going to miss another 9 weeks. It's going to be a long season for us. We have 4 prospects visiting this next week against Nebraska. So far, with a lot of these battles, you'll see that we are the front runner. So there's at least some good news there. We have decided that we're not going to be able to get 3 5-star QBs. It would just be a waste of hours because they're not all going to stick around. We have Dylan Raiola's former team coming to play us. They're 4-0. If we lose this game, we're basically out of the playoff. And I set up that visit week for a lot of 5 stars to come in, but as you can see, we only signed 1 of them. So the reality has hit us that we are 2-3. We are 2-3 with the Ducks and a 91 overall team, 96 defense. To be honest, I think I have already seen enough out of this season, so we're going to get through most of it. I was not expecting for us to be that unsuccessful with Oregon in year 1. You know what, though? Ever since that moment, there's been a slight turnaround. Dante Moore has started to play extremely well again, 387 passing yards versus the Fighting Illini. While we also took down Oregon State, our rivals, Michigan, number 6 in the country, Washington, Illinois, but now we play at number 2 USC with a playoff spot on the line. Because I think you could make the argument, if we went 9-3 and we handed them their first and only loss this year, plus we also beat Michigan, we're still good enough to maybe squeeze in. We're number 22 right now. So the result of this game is a massive deal. But before we find out what happens against the Trojans, we have to talk about recruiting because we have still been able to close out on a majority of these 5 stars. We got both quarterbacks. The one from Lexington especially is what I wanted to focus on, even though they will both be sitting behind Dylan Raiola next year. We haven't lost a single battle for the top 15. And we are also looking on track to bring in all of these other high school prospects, but with a max max of 35 players we can sign every season, and us needing to get positions like on our special teams, it's going to leave us only 7 spots for transfers. So I'm not thrilled about that, but one of the video's challenges was sign the #1 high school recruiting class. We have 9 5-stars. I think that one's taken care of. When it comes to on-the-field performance, though, we lost to the Trojans 35-21, so that is our 4th loss of the season. I really didn't imagine this is how Dante Moore was going to go out. And it makes me very happy Dan Lanning's earned a little bit of coach points, because we're going to need lower the bar, this tier 3 ability that lowers the deal breaker threshold. Some players want to transfer. We were at least fortunate to finish out the year with 2 more wins, so we're not going to go worse than 8-4. But it is odd seeing us sit in 7th place in the Big Ten. Michigan also fell off as this season went on. USC picked up a couple of losses, and I guess we just weren't good enough. This is the stat line Dante Moore put up. On his end, it looks like he had a very successful season. Rushing wise, Jordan Davison had 16 touchdowns. He wants to stick around. He is a true sophomore, so he'll be back next year. De'Aaron Hill Jr. will be as well, though. 90 overall sophomore. He got injured, so we were leaning more on our backup. But then we get to look over at our receiving group, and next season, we're going to be cooking. DeCorian Moore is a true sophomore. He's a 93. He had an incredible year, which makes me incredibly happy, but I do believe on the defensive side, we're going to see some guys like Washington, who had 13.5 sacks, declare early for the NFL draft. So there's going to be a lot of players that most likely don't return all around. While there's also going to be a couple of our coordinators that don't return either. Now, Will Stein, I love you, dude. He's going to do amazing things for Kentucky, but we need to keep this realistic. Even if he's a talent developer, he is now gone. I want to bring in some new coordinators. Though I might have just gotten rid of the defensive coordinator at Oregon for no reason. He could still be there, though I feel like he took a job too. For the Heisman Trophy, that is going to Kevin Jennings, SMU's. He had 46 touchdowns, almost 5,000 passing yards, so incredible season out of him. We got Iowa State in the Rate Bowl. I'm impressed they made a bowl game after all the players they lost. But I do have a feeling it'll be a pretty easy win for us, and this is just not how we imagined our season going. As long as we simply win this matchup, though, I don't think our school grades are going to take a major hit, which is nice. And as I get to play with this offense, I'm just wondering, how did we ever lose that many games? There is a reason in real life Oregon is projected to be one of the title favorites. So there is no exciting or close finish that's going to go on here. As this game has gone on, we've driven down the field more often. Dante Moore gets another rushing touchdown. We're going to have to say goodbye to him. No way we convince him to stay. And I hope this is the last time in this video we're playing in the Rate Bowl. We're about to make some hires that should help towards that as well. Eric Morris is the favorite for the Oklahoma State job, so that'd be neat if that actually went through. I do hope the coaching carousel gets fixed in next year's game. And I think it's pretty obvious why I wanted Mark Ryan to be our offensive coordinator. He's another talent developer. What it means is for every one of these positions, each time players get drafted, we get bonus XP. If we can get to tier 3 in some of this stuff, we'll also gain XP on some of our starting players, which is going to be incredible for developing players. Then our defensive coordinator is a strategist. So I really don't think many guys on that side of the ball are ever going to want to transfer due to this tier 3 ability. Dan Lanning also has it, so it just stacks. Clemson has bounced back in this universe. They've won the national championship. And I just can't even believe what I'm looking at right now. I thought Dante Moore was going to declare for the NFL draft, but he wants to play another season in college, transferring to a better school. So he is going to be the #1 transfer. While we also might lose a couple true freshmen that just didn't like our playing style, at least we can convince a couple of them to return. That is nice to see. Then you got these guys that are either graduating or going on to the NFL. That has caused some big losses for us that we're going to have to replace, but it will improve our pro potential, which is nice. And we actually started to lose some of the battles later in the season on some of these 4-stars. So as you can see, we lost to Clemson. We lost to Alabama. We got to take those guys off of our board. We'll check back in on the top classes, where we are still projected to finish with the best high school class in the country, but Georgia's made it a close call. They have 6 5-stars. That grade is not very far behind ours because we did not have as many 4-stars. So I found that interesting. Dante Moore's the #1 transfer like we expected, and we're not going to go after players like CJ Carr, mainly because we are banking on Dylan Raiola to carry us, but any other player that is a top transfer, we are going to try and bring him in. What becomes a lot of fun about using a school like Oregon as well is just the fact that they are incredible at recruiting. I'm incredible at recruiting, so now I have all the tools at my disposal. So basically, if there's a player out there that we find that we want that is interested in Oregon, we are almost guaranteed to sign him every single time. Transfer portal can be a little bit of a toss-up. We might not get all of these transfers, but it is looking very likely. And if we make 5 signings on National Signing Day, that means that we got every single one of them. It would be a full class of 35 players fitting a lot of our team needs. I see 4. Am I about to see a 5th player? Neptune could be a big pickup for a receiver as well. But yes, we signed all 5 of them. And that is enough for us to stay with the number 1 class. Out of high school, though, it is still going to be us. Georgia did sign 1 5-star. Does that mean Georgia got Dante Moore? No, they got Marcel Reed. Dante Moore decided to go to Pittsburgh instead. He cares about championship contender, and he went to Pittsburgh. You know what? It is what it is. I expect that every single season we are going to find quite a few elite dev players on our board. So far, I've not seen a single one, but eventually I discovered them, and there are 6 total. Now, some of them are going to be the 5-star gyms. Some of them are just going to be normal 5-stars, and some of them are going to be 4-stars. This 4-star gym receiver, Evan Baker, might be the best player that we find in this whole series if he can get up to 99 speed. While for our 2 5-star quarterbacks, both of them are going to be star dev, and that is more than enough. It'll develop them extremely well. We'll see which one takes the job next season. Though I will say Dylan Raiola could be here for 2 more years since he's only up to an 87. I don't think he's going to declare for the NFL draft early. This is what our training results look like. I think the roster is slightly worse on paper than what we had the year before, which is just crazy. But on the bright side, I have 9 years still to complete all these challenges, and we did just check off our first one by signing the number 1 high school class. It really does stink, though, that we lost Dante Moore to Pittsburgh, because can you imagine the combo of Moore to Moore this season since they are both projected to be in the Heisman race? It's a pretty big letdown. Ohio State goes into this season as the favorite to win the title, and we are just outside a projected playoff spot, but we could very easily make it there with a good season. So what our conference schedule looks like is very important. I'm not going to touch any of the schedules since EA is supposed to have set these schedules to be realistic to what they're supposed to be over the next 10 years in real life. Look at the conference schedule, though. This is going to be tough. 3 top 6 programs. That is not ideal. If we look at our team needs, we have 82 of our 85 roster spots filled up, and we're only supposed to lose 10 seniors. So I think what we're going to do is just sign 5-star players. That is it. Only 5 stars out of high school and 4-star transfers, which is still going to give us plenty of variety. As you can see, the number 1 edge in the country wants to play for our program, so we like that. And again, only adding players that are interested in coming to Oregon in the first place. We have run into a little issue with that, though, because Paul Peppers might just be the best quarterback we have ever seen. 96 throw power, 87 speed. We have a tier 5 pipeline in his state in California, so I would love to get a 5-star gym. But what that means is both of these guys, if he signs with us, are probably going to want to transfer, so there was no point in even going after them the year before. Also, somebody is going to leave a comment about it. Dylan Raiola is not going to look anything like him. I did my best with customizing players on this game. You don't get much freedom in customization. You can't edit the faces, the skin colors, nothing on here. So shout out to EA for the freedom on that. 97 overall team opening up the season with a free win. But after that game, even if you're going to see signs of success, like us bringing in a lot of these 5-stars that we wanted to get, this should be exciting. It's not as exciting. All because we turned around and lost to Baylor on the road 42-35. We've already lost a game this season. Then we got over Oregon State, Iowa, and Purdue, but none of those teams are really impressive wins I'm proud of. Our first real test is going to be against number 1 Ohio State, where I have no choice but to redeem ourselves from last year and hop into this as our one game because we have a visit with Jim Adrian Hurt, 5-star left tackle. He's coming for this one. We also have a close finish. Stanford might be able to take Paul Peppers away from us. So the only way to make sure that doesn't happen is if we are able to beat the Buckeyes, the number 1 team in the country. This is one of those games where the vibes are just immaculate. Look at them running out of the tunnel into the rain. It's going to be a great day here in Oregon, especially if we could finish this first half with a touchdown. Now, we're going to scramble for the first. That wasn't exactly the plan, but sometimes you just have to improvise. We're going to cut to the outside, try and get out of bounds. We had to mix in a short run just to keep them on their toes. We'll take our check down here, and we lose some. I would really like to have a 2-possession lead before we start the second half, but if we don't get this 3rd and 8, there's no chance of a touchdown. Though there you have it, a first down for us. We're going to step up in the pocket. The blocks are looking good, and Dylan is short. Davison is healthy this season. So far, though, he's going to lose too. And we are going to put our faith right back in him as he takes this next carry to lose 2 more. With only 1 timeout left in this first half, we do have to hurry up to the line and get off this snap very very quick. This play needs to be a good throw, and it is on the money. That is how you connect, even hanging on to that in the rain through the hit. Impressive. And it set the tone in this second half that this was our game to lose. We're up by 8. There is a minute on the clock, and this Stadium Pulse better start to get to Ohio State fast. We got pressure in, but we couldn't make a play. So we are still waiting on that final defensive stop, and they must have a tight end with takeoff because he explodes fast. If this ends up going to overtime, that would just be painful. Looks like they are going to take a shot down the field, and they caught it on our head. I can't say I'm surprised, though. Ohio State always has good receivers. We want to get a QB spy out there just in case he decides to try and scramble. We still got pressure, and that's a sack. So we are looking to hang on and win this game, assuming we don't fumble or anything. This is just a massive result because we're going to be back inside the top 12, and I think we're also about to see the commits of a couple 5-star gyms. By this point, we've signed some 4-stars on our board as well outside of the 5-stars. I decided to go after a few that were interested, but I want to point out that there are only 3 players still that haven't committed. With Paul Peppers being the main guy, he still wants to go on his visit to Stanford before he decides on the Ducks. During that visit, we have to go to the Big House to play number 18 Michigan. I don't think this will factor in his decision whether we win or lose. But of course, I'm hoping that we came out on top against the Wolverines. This is such a big signing. He could be the future for the next 3 to 4 years. We have also won another huge game, so we're up to number 9 in the country. I feel like we should be able to get to the playoff, but we still are going to have to probably beat 2 of the 3 of Penn State, Nebraska, and UCLA, so that's tough. With only being able to hop into 1 regular season game a year, a lot is up to Sim. A lot is up to these rosters that we build. Once playoff time comes around, I'll have more of an impact, but we have to get there first, and we are number 11 in the country at the end of the regular season. We aren't going to be in the Big Ten title game. I'm going to assume that we lost our other matchup to Nebraska, while also falling to UCLA. That is 2 years in a row that they have beat us now, so maybe we play against UCLA next season. We were able to beat Penn State, yet they are still ranked a spot ahead of us, and that's not good. We're technically in a playoff spot right now. Pittsburgh is 12-0 with Dante Moore, by the way. Just want to point that out since I was trashing on them. Now I have to give them their respect. North Texas is up here, but the top 5 highest rated conference champions get in the playoffs. So if there are 2 outside of the top 12 that win and they get a spot, we're bumped out. And that just worries me. Dante Moore won the Heisman Trophy with Pittsburgh. So one of the challenges in this video is win the Heisman Trophy. It's not going to be us this season. I can't believe he left and he's had this much success. We're in the playoffs, though, as the number 10 team. And it looks like North Texas, who lost their first game of the season in the conference championship against Tulane, has dropped below us, even though they only had 1 loss and we have had 3. This is perfect, though. We have to win 4 national championships in a 10-year time frame, so any chance we get in the playoff is an opportunity for us to come away with 1. But in the process of getting here, we did lose our defensive coordinator. He's on to the NFL, so we are going to have to replace him with somebody else, and I think some of our options are going to be great, but we're looking no further than Steve Wheeler because he's a talent developer. As for our season stats, Dylan Raiola is not as impressive as Dante Moore. He's turned the ball over 11 times. I think Dante Moore had like 4 interceptions last year. We also have not been able to rush the ball very effectively at all. So we took a major step back in that department. We also saw Moore take a step back because he doesn't have as many yards or touchdowns as he did the year before. But it got us to the college football playoffs, so I can't really complain about that. Duke averages 1 more point per game than us. They get to host this game as well. But I am not concerned about the Blue Devils. This is not March Madness. This is not college basketball. They aren't going to beat us. That was at least my mindset going in, but you see the spot that we're in at the end of this first half, which is why a passing touchdown is such a major deal. That was clutch. However, by the time we got to the 4th quarter, we are back to trailing by 10, which is why we needed to find more here. The separation is lethal. He almost made it in himself. And surely our offensive line, with all those transfers, is going to win the battle up front. So far, we haven't played that well, but we just need to get them off of the field on 3rd and 4. And since we could not do that, we're bringing 8 guys into the box for this next 3rd and short. They got us with the option, but it's fine. They're going to have to settle for 3. Assuming Duke hits this, they're going to be up by 6, but all we need is a touchdown. And although our offense has been a little bit slower in this game, not as successful as you would want, I trust that we're going to be able to pull this off. On 2nd and 10, we just hand it off. Davison is going to get us 20. Maybe we need to be running. And some of y'all in the comments have been saying I'm wrong about East-West playmakers being the best running back archetype, that it's elusive bruisers. I'm not sure if I agree with you all or not, but he is An elusive bruiser, and we just threw a pick. We just threw a pick. What is wrong with me? I say we need to run the ball more. We get 2 successful runs in a row, and then we throw an interception anyway. And it gives Duke a very good chance at taking us down, but it's a halfback screen here on 2nd down, and we can get the ball back. I'm a little bit nervous, though, with the way that they have us spread out, so we're just going to have to use her on this part. That curl is not there. He's actually running back towards us, and we just got to wrap up. We're good. They might have pinned us back at like the 1-yard line, though. We just got it. So we are not going to let Dylan touch this ball. In fact, we're going to give it to Davison. He was the reliable player on that last drive. And now we might be able to mix in an RPO that is dropped. Good defense from the Blue Devils. I did not expect us to be in this position. Just get rid of it. You can't take a safety. And I think we might have had our underneath route to take. I'm trying to get our tight end on a slant, but the home field advantage is kicking in. We're not going to be able to get it out if we're patient enough here, and it's a good throw. This game is not over, though. Stutter running down the field to midfield. And just like that, we might be able to hook up with him again out of reach. I have to give credit to Duke. Their defense has been extremely solid in this game. What if we threw it up to the best receiver on this team, though? He's got it. Decorian Moore saves the day. But we might have scored too soon. They literally had 2 guys trying to stop him, and they still couldn't. But we have got to lock in. They're running the ball. I guess they have 3 timeouts. And on 2nd and 10, we're stuck on the line. Somehow, they got it. I am very worried about them getting into field goal range, especially after that 1st down. They really don't need that much more against us. And we got held up on that block. This is why I tried to avoid these situations in like 90% of all of these rebuilds, because we're in trouble. They're out of timeouts, but if they get 10 yards, they could win this game with a field goal. We had to force him to throw it out. So here we go. It is now 3rd and 8. And what is our defense doing? He was just wide open. They're going to be able to get up and spike it. There's nothing we can do. We might as well take a timeout. At the very least, that'll give us like 7 seconds to try and respond. It's good. Okay, we are looking for a quick throw to the sideline. Get out of bounds. Give us a chance. He dropped it. So you know what? I am feeling Wildcat. The Hail Mary isn't going to work for us. Can we pull this off? Can we have a miracle? We're patient. If we hit that 2nd level just a second sooner, we might have been gone. There was a pass. That is such a dumb way to lose, though. Again, that's why I don't like the other team to have the ball at the end of the game. I guess on the bright side, we did bring in our talent developer as a defensive coordinator, so now we have that for both coordinator positions. And Clemson made it back to the national championship, but USC was able to win it all. If Pittsburgh would have won the title, I would have been far more salty. We knew there would be some players, though, that have decided they want to leave. There is something we could do that might give us a chance at least convincing a couple of them to come back. Also, playing time. Some of these freshmen, like the quarterbacks, I said they were going to be gone, and we're also going to lose a 5-star edge. But don't worry, the 2 true freshman edges that I made sure were actually playing both have elite development, so that guy was always going to be our 3rd best one. Anyway, we get to go into Program Builder, and we have to just get roster retention. This will give us a better chance at convincing 2nd-round projected players to come back. Same thing for 3rd through 7th round. Though for Jordan Davison, it says that there is still no chance he returns, and we're also going to lose his backup running back, Hill Jr., who was supposed to be our starter next year if he's departing, but he wants to transfer due to playing time. That's just the way it's going to be. And we have not been very successful at convincing any of these players to return. I thought we would at least get lucky with one of them, but every single one of them has already made up their mind. They don't want to be at Oregon, so with all of those guys leaving, with these guys graduating, a few more going to the NFL, we are about to have a lot of reloading to do. Typically, if I put this many players into the NFL, it's a team that should be winning a championship, especially with a receiver as good as Decorian Moore was, but we just couldn't get it for him. Since we've already signed about 15 high schoolers as well, I want to say that we're only going to have 8 total spots available to transfers. We're going to have to choose which transfers we want wisely. And I would absolutely love if we could get the #1 receiver in the country. They also want us to be going after a quarterback. I just don't know if that's a good idea because we signed somebody that will probably transfer if we don't start him as a true freshman. So I'm not sure how to feel about getting this UCLA quarterback on our board, but he might just turn into a backup no matter how good he is, unless his stats are just that incredible, which it looks like they aren't, but he does have 91 speed. Hang on here. That's going to be awful tempting, and if we want to sign Alan Trahan, the #1 player and the #1 receiver in this class, then we're going to need him for a complimentary visit. 94 speed, 99 acceleration. I mean, Tennessee looks like the front runner, but I think we're going to be able to soft sell. We know he cares about playing style and conference prestige. There are only 2 options it could be, and that'll help us figure it out. It's going to let us know exactly what his interests are a week later, but I do have some bad news. It seems like Tennessee has done the same thing, or even they're pitching him harder. Maybe the pipeline's putting in some work. They've gained the same amount. So I have a feeling we're not going to get him, even though we have a visit this week. We need him to sign during this week. For some of these defensive players, we're able to pitch 65 hours, so that's why it's a lot easier to close him out. This is where we're supposed to be finding out whether or not we got him to sign with us, but I'm not seeing his name pop up. So what it's going to come down to is this final week, just like it is on Burt, except he's coming on a visit, so he's basically a lock for Oregon. We did move up to number 1, but it looks like Tennessee, even without a visit, is going to be able to win in week 4. That is so frustrating, but I noticed we had 54 coach points, so why not go in here, spend all 54 of those points making sure that we can put more hours into receivers and tight ends now, and instead of hard selling Alan Trahan along with DMing him, we're no longer going to be sliding in his DMs. We're going to contact his friends and family. It's just a little bit of a stronger pitch, except a committed screen is not popping up for him. You know, we just brought in an incredible class, a guy like Paul Peppers, who is going to have star development, so he doesn't have elite dev, but he'll still be incredible for us. Losing that battle, though, to Tennessee is just the worst. And what is so interesting about this class is I'm seeing a bunch of star and elite devs or normal devs, no in between. Okay, there's a couple impacts after I say that, but we got elite dev on most guys. Just wish we got elite dev on Paul Peppers. And then for our transfers, most of them are star development. We did see elite dev on Alex Guy, a freshman edge, so that's cool, but the quarterback we brought in is normal dev, so he is our backup for sure. And it looks like we signed the number 1 class in the country again. I wasn't even going for it. If we sort by transfers, though, this is where we're not going to sign the number 1 transfer class. That is a challenge that we'll have to go for at some point. But this year just didn't feel like the year for it. We are going to have to move some players around on this team, which is going to change up their positions a little bit. Like, our defensive tackle room is not that impressive, but it wasn't too hard for us to fill out. Dunham goes up to an 87 after training results, and Alex Guy becomes an 89 overall. Here's the issue, though. Not every position group on this team is as complete. From the looks of it, you would think this team is just as good as some of our previous ones. But in our running back room, we're going to be starting an 82 overall because there weren't any transfer running backs that wanted to come to our program. At receiver, we are doing a little bit better than we were before training results. If you just take away like the 10 upgrades, the 11 upgrades, you can see how the room looked a little bit more depleted. I think tight end was the same way. It still is. So there are holes on this roster, but that's why we need our guys to develop. And if I'm not starting Dylan his senior year, he's not going to be too happy about it. But if we don't give Paul Peppers the time that he wants, then he's going to transfer, and he comes in with 0 skill caps to his accuracy. It can improve infinitely. He's already got 96 throw power. His quickness can go up infinitely too. So he will be starting as a true freshman. And remember the name Evan Baker? Well, he's up to an 86 as a true sophomore with 98 speed. He is going to max out his speed most likely next offseason. It's just crazy to see already. And that is exactly why if we've just replaced like the 20-25 players that graduate every year with a bunch of high-end 4 and 5 stars, I think we're always going to have a good enough roster to be inside the top 25, but we need a roster that can win championships. So I am stoked to say that there seem to be a couple more 4 stars than we typically would have on our board already, and we're going to try and cook up another number 1 recruiting class like we've had the past 2 years. I have a pretty good feeling we'll be able to do that. Roderick Robinson is the only 5-star gem on our board this year. We got 2 safeties at the top of it though, which is why we didn't go after these other 2 5-stars as well. They care about playing style. They'll most likely transfer. But the difference between this board and some of our last ones is we actually have quite a few 4-stars on here, and I might even go after more players than I was originally planning on, though these guys already want to go to other teams. Our schedule for this season is the exact same as last year in the non-conference part. So we played an FCS school, we won. Now we take on Baylor, who is a top 25 team, but we should be able to get our revenge. And that is exactly what we did, coming out on top 42-31. We've started this season 3-0. We're number 5 in the country, even though I said there were a lot of positions on this team that were depleted, and they are. We're very young there. We seem to be doing all right, but we have that stretch during the season where we have to play against 5 top 25 programs. So by the time we get there, I'm just hoping that we're still undefeated. So far, every season's felt like the same cycle where we go out, we're able to sign some of these incredible 5 and 4 stars, but then when it comes down the field, we don't deliver. Darren Crouch is our new starting running back. I think he had star dev. Well, anyway, against Rutgers, we just escaped with a win, 52-49, and he was player of the week, but he didn't have more rushing yards than 87, so I'm assuming he had a lot more rushing touchdowns. I guess he only had 3. It has also just hit me that I forgot to make Peppers the starting quarterback, so now that we do that, we might start to lose. I'm so sorry. Sorry to Dylan, but at the moment I am thinking about our future and I don't care. It turns out it doesn't matter who our quarterback is. Over the next 2 weeks, we would drop 51 points in both games. Our defense also looked a little bit better, so we are ready for the slate against 5 teams in a row that at one point were ranked inside the top 25, where it is going to be a tough finish to our season. We also have Washington on there, so that is 6 games that we could win or lose. At the moment, we're sitting near the top of the Big Ten. We could even get to the conference championship. We could be a playoff team. We could also completely miss. There is currently no in between, and we did lose a recruiting battle. We're not just winning every single battle. Tennessee was able to get this right guard from us, but he's from Tennessee. I'm not too upset about it. It looks like we're going to edge out Ole Miss for the 5-star receiver, so I'm very happy to see that. Lots of other wins on our board. And I think if there are still guys that had us in their top 10 and they're not getting any scholarships, we should go after them just because it would be really easy for us to sign them with all the free hours we still have. We have got to stop delaying the inevitable, though. All of these results that are going to have me clenching my teeth. And just like the past 2 weeks, we could not have asked for a better offensive performance. We are showing up better than ever. They had 3 interceptions. Our defense is playing out of their mind, but Paul Peppers is doing very well for a true freshman. So I am very excited to play with him for the first time as we go in against USC. They're coming to our place. This is a top 3 matchup, and it is the game of the week for a reason. What would it take to get College Game Day in this anyway? I feel like that'd be good promo for them. I would like to see that out of EA in College Football 27, just thinking of more things I want. But I might be the problem. We are currently trailing 20-7. We have barely scored offensively. So we had an offense that worked, and then I decided to play, and now it's struggling, but we're going to get this 4th and 17. It was also 20-0 at a moment in this game. We're just going to step up and try to take the top off of the defense, but that's exactly why we've been struggling, because USC is not a bad team. They're not going to give that up. So after they drove down the field and they scored on us, I'm afraid there's just not that much that we're going to be able to do. Now, we got a lot of time for Peppers to improve, so it should only get better from here. His receiving core is only going to get better from here. His offensive line's only going to get better from here. I mean, we haven't been able to run. Literally 14 rushes for 8 yards with Darren Crouch, and he's been pretty good all season. Look at this. I've simply just had to accept that USC is the better team. On 4th down, we're hoping to have another big play, but they got a hand on it. So by the end of the game, we are going to lose to USC. But I still think we're getting better and setting ourselves up for the future. It's just taken a long time. There's no telling where this team's going to be at by the end of year 3, but it looks like we can only lose one more game as we're now number 10 in the country. I don't think we're going to get lucky enough to sneak into the playoff with 3 losses like last year. And would you look at that? Sure enough, it's like I know a thing or two about this game. We lose at Penn State. We lose at Indiana. Those are tough matchups. Illinois and Washington also finished the season ranked, even though we held both of them to 7 points, but we're currently number 17 in the country. We're 9-3. And while Pittsburgh sits up there at number 2 in the country, there's absolutely no pathway for us to get to the college football playoff. We are ranked below UAB. It's just really tough playing in the Big Ten. I mean, we had 3 conference losses. Our non-conference games always go well. But that is now 3 of our 10 seasons where we haven't won a national championship. I'm supposed to win 4 of them in this video as a challenge. Probably was just expecting way too much. It also looks like part of the issue was Paul Peppers. He threw 10 interceptions in the the 8 games that he started. So he wasn't ready. We probably would have been a playoff team if we just left him on the bench, but he needs it for his development. Darren Crouch, his sophomore season, had 19 touchdowns, not that many yards, but I guess that's okay. We also saw the junior receiver Sean Jaso go for 1,102 yards, 8 touchdowns, while Troy Sutter was just behind him. But he is a senior, so he won't be on next year's roster. I could also point out that Alex Guy got like 8 sacks, but he's a 90 overall. He might declare for the draft. And from the looks of it, our program tradition grade is dropping. We also could not get the playing time that we needed to that corner, so he's going to want to leave. Playing style hasn't been good enough for some of these guys. It's the reason I said if I can avoid it, I'm not going to recruit off of that deal breaker. We have to play Nebraska in our bowl game. This is tough. And the Heisman Trophy winner went to a Missouri State quarterback. If we just had solid stats for a year, this could have been the year to win. That is just one of the many things, though, that are currently frustrating me. We average 11 more points per game. Last time I thought that we just easily win one, though. You saw what happened against Duke. We lost. We didn't even get to the quarterfinal. So there is no guarantee that this is going to work out for us either, and we're able to finish with 10 wins, which I think is just going to be enough to where our team prestige doesn't drop. As we approach the end of this third quarter, we hand it off to Crouch, and Crouch is just going to bulldoze his way in. So we're about to be up by 2 possessions. Though that is not going to be enough to close out this game. With 4 minutes left, we're just going to have to hit Neptune in stride. We brought him in through the transfer portal a couple years ago, and now I'm feeling a little bit more confident. I don't care. It's a 1-possession game. We're in field goal range. I don't think there's much Nebraska can do. They just have to hope that they can get us to a 4th down soon, but even one more first down makes a huge difference. They're basically out of timeouts. We're not getting this, though. And I don't trust us kicking a field goal from the hash mark. Don't think that we're going to blow this game, though. We're going to pick up this 4th and 3 without a worry in the world. We're going to get a touchdown as well. And at the end of the game, they would even throw us a pick 6. So it looks a lot farther apart than it was. That really isn't something to get that excited about, though. Once it dawns on me that Duke is winning national championships, USC is getting back to that point, and we're set to lose more players than we were supposed to a week ago. That doesn't even account for the guys that want to declare for the NFL draft early, like Sean Jaso, who is not being persuaded to return. We're also going to see offered and Burt both leave us, and I feel like we have just had absolutely no luck with any of these persuasions. Is anybody going to come back? We're seeing a couple of those freshmen also want to leave. Elite Dev, I made sure Berryman was on the field, and he still did not like his playing time. So we're going to lose him and Ahmed, who also had Elite Dev as a corner. Those are just 2 major losses that you can't afford to have, but we had so much talent, some of the 5 stars could not play immediately, which is why in the future, instead of going after all these 5 stars, it might be better to just go after 4-star gyms if we're going to recruit in high school, though maybe we need to focus more on the transfer portal. Currently, we have 26 high schoolers signed, but I want to land guys like JoJo Kite, the #1 transfer, the best receiver in the country from Ohio State. He's considering us. We lost that battle last year for the #1 player, though. And with the way things are setting up, I think we're going to get every single transfer I put on our board. Now, we didn't max out a class of 35 guys because I understand I'm probably going to have to cut some of the players on our roster to fit some of these new faces, but JoJo Kite is on a week 4 visit. He might not even make it to that visit because our hard sell is so good, which is exactly how things went down. Now, Martin Falk is one of those players that is a 3-star we signed. He is normal dev, but I figured he'd make for a good backup quarterback because he's not going to want to be out there on the field. We needed someone like that. I thought JoJo Kite was going to have elite dev for sure, but that isn't the case here. We're still seeing a lot of stars, lots of impacts, some elite every so often mixed in. I'm really worried about our 5 stars, though, because the guys that had elite dev that we didn't put on the field transferred, even though they were only like 80 overalls at the time. So it doesn't do us much good to sign 3 #1 classes in a row if those 5 stars aren't going to stick around. This upcoming season is the season where I truly believe we're going to take our biggest jump forward, though, because some of those guys we first recruited are actually developing. Alex Guy decided to stick around. Now we got multiple players above a 96 overall on our team. As we scroll down, you aren't even going to see anybody below a 90 until here. So it's got me thinking, outside of Paul Peppers just being an 86 overall, what spot on this roster is going to be weak? Because I don't think we're going to have any. 99 speed on Evan Baker. I told you it was coming. 98 speed on JoJo Kite. What a signing out of the portal. And I might actually have never had a defensive line that is this good before. Just look at the depth on this. It's actually out of this world. I don't know if we've had this. We literally have 4 players at cornerback that are all all potentially first-round picks, 99 speed on our fourth corner. So this team is set up for success. We just have to actually take advantage of it. We only have to cut 4 players as well, which is a lot less than I was thinking. What it's going to come down to is if a player has normal development, even if they're young, they're probably getting cut. We have a really high standard, and that last recruiting class has made us a lot younger. We got 35 freshmen on this team. We still need to replace about 20 players every season between guys that declare for the draft early, transfer, or graduate. So I'm still going to focus a little bit on high school, but I do want to focus more on the portal soon, just because if we're able to sign guys like JoJo Kite, the #1 player in the country, then this is going to be so much better than any 5-star. And I'll start scouting some of them in a second, but I also wanted to see what did Paul Peppers develop in. It looks like his accuracy actually didn't go up that much. He still has 73 deep throw accuracy, so I really want to see him progress there in the future, but his speed went from an 87 to a 90. And as a 99 overall team, we're going to have 4 free wins in our season pretty much. That's how I see those first 4 teams before we have to play USC and things get a little bit more difficult. This schedule still has 4 top 25 teams that are on it. Like I was saying though, for our first few games, we knew that this was going to be blowout after blowout. Paul Peppers with 6 touchdowns versus Utah State. And then against our rivals Oregon State, we really got rolling in the 4th quarter. He had 7 passing touchdowns. He's going to be in Heisman conversations. If not this year, then 100% next season, as long as he doesn't transfer for any odd reason. Arkansas and UTEP got some players up here. So does San Diego State. And on the recruiting side of things, I still did find 1 5-star I wanted on our board. Alex Cabral is a quarterback as well. He's a 5-star gym. His stats look good. I would like for him to come here and develop. I don't know if he'd actually sit or if he'll transfer, but it's how I've decided to use some of our resources while getting a bunch of 4-stars outside of him. We're going to see all of them commit most likely, where so far so good. I'm a little bit worried that Anthony Crook could go to Washington. All we can do is continue to hard sell. Our grades are really good there. He is a gem. I would like to have him at receiver. For the rest of these battles, I still feel like we are going to close them out. And as we head into Big Ten Conference play, we started it with a win against Northwestern, but now we have to face off against #1 USC. We are going to simulate this. I want to play against our rivals Washington. It's on the road. They're undefeated, but I wouldn't be too surprised if we picked up our first loss of the year here. I still think our roster's better. We just can't seem to win. Well, there's the commitment of the 5-star quarterback. He was on a visit for that game against the Trojans, so it feels like a pretty good sign that we were able to win. However, the 4-star receiver was also on a visit and he didn't commit, which means we did lose this one 35 to 29. They're just better than us. I don't know what we can do. We've had the #1 recruiting class for the last 3 years, and Martin Folk threw 2 interceptions. Why is Martin Folk out there on the field? Do not tell me Paul Peppers is out for almost the whole season. He broke his collarbone. This season's basically in the gutter. Listen, I still think we should be able to take down teams like Iowa. Our roster's that good, which is what happened, but it was a much closer call than we would have liked. We let them score 34 points on us with our defense. So all it took was one main injury to just send our team in shambles. We got 9-11 right now. I'm hoping that we're able to beat Washington. We are on the road, but we're the better team. We just happen to be without the most crucial player for a matchup like this, which is why we should be recruiting more 5-star gyms at quarterback. I just don't believe that they're going to stick around still. As you can see, our defense has just given up way too many points, and that's the main issue that we faced. You can't give up 42 and expect to win still. We caught that? That might be one of the greatest catches I've ever seen on this game. Still 2 minutes left. We have 1 timeout left and the 2-minute timeout, but we're going to need a big play. We're going to need a big play. And since we can't hot route or anything, it might just have to come from throwing it up to some of our best receivers. That won't work either. 3rd and 10. I highly doubt that we are going to get a touchdown before the 2-minute timeout, but this game is still not over. If we can get out of bounds, if we can get quick first downs, then maybe our defense is able to force a very fast 3-and-out, and oh, that's not good. We really needed to get into the end zone on that play. We're going to have to lean on an onside kick, and I've thought, why not go for the 2-point conversion as well, just because we can. This is where we need a miracle, and they scooped it up. Though you never know when the computer is going to do something dumb. At the moment, it looks like they're calling for hot routes and stuff. Are they actually going to throw the ball here? They threw the ball. They threw the ball, and that's going to do it. They're just running up the score for fun. They saw that we had everybody on the line. They knew we were going to run commit. So it doesn't really matter who we sign. It's looking like another season where we are going to miss the playoff, though we're number 17 in the country, so we might be able to lose another game. You know, it was a close call against Minnesota, but we escaped by 3. Then we took down Rutgers. We took down Wisconsin, so we might have our starting quarterback returning, and we are setting up to return to the playoff. I just have to point out, Pittsburgh is 11-0. I should have never said anything about them not being a championship contender. But let's take a look at where we are standing in conference play. There is no pathway to the Big Ten championship unless both USC and Ohio State lose their final 2 games. It does seem like we're going to have to wait 1 more week for Paul Peppers to return, though, and then we're also missing 2 offensive linemen. One of them is out for the rest of the season. But there are no major defensive injuries, which is nice. Indiana is 5-5, but they're an 89 overall. They just happen to not play like it. 38-7, it's a nice win. But we all know what game matters the most. We're going to Penn State. They're 7-4. They're not having the best year, but I also think they're better than where their ranking would be, which is not ranked. And that is why it is so nice that Paul Peppers was able to pick up a win in his return. We're still number 7 in the country. So no matter what, we are not getting a first round bye in the playoff, but we had 2 losses this year. That's expected. Ohio State had the Heisman Trophy winner. We got Florida in the first round. We get to host. And on our side of the bracket, if we were to get through the Gators, we have to play the Bulldogs. If we just take a look at our season stats, you'll see the drastic difference between Martin Falk being out there and Paul Peppers. It's about a 10% difference in just completion accuracy. You also got way more interceptions out of Martin. Well, you'll also see Paul Peppers averages 3.2 yards per carry, while Falk averages 0.8, and he just could not run the ball at all. As we're looking at this page, though, it says Darren Crouch is injured. I really hope it is only for like a week or 2. Carl Cobb was our number 1 receiver, which I find odd because Evan Baker and JoJo Knight way better. But I guess that's just the way it's going to be. We did not have any major sack leaders despite our defensive line being like the best I've ever seen. You know, for the capabilities of this team, or what I thought we had, it's been a little bit underwhelming so far. This is what our class is looking like, so it's also the most underwhelming high school class we've ever put together, but I don't think these players would transfer. And it is time to just go ahead, get straight into it. I really hope that we don't lose to Florida. We have to be able to get out of at least the first round. There has been a curse on this program for far too long. We are going to get Oregon a national championship. We might not get to 4 in this video. I might just have to fail that challenge and give away at least 1 copy no matter what. But if there's anything I've learned from this game, when our defense decides they want to show up, they are going to make the other team's life a nightmare. We can sit here running cover 2 man, 4th and 1. This could be it right here. We just need to get a stop. We know where this running back is going to be, and they're throwing it into double coverage. It's clamped up. They would hold us to a 4th and 6, though, which is where this extremely long field goal comes into play. The power is going to be enough. So that was a comfortable, easy playoff game for us to get a win over Florida. But again, Georgia's next up, so we know that's going to be a challenge. This is not a good stat line for Max Russo. But that is the running back that we are going to have to lean on because Darren Crouch is injured for the rest of the season. We've just had some really bad luck with injuries. If there is even the slightest chance that we go deeper in the playoff, what we are going to have to do is just pass the ball very well. And of course, also continue to play the way that we just did defensively against a Georgia team that averages 41 points per game. They run the ball for 50 more yards than us, 150 on the ground every game. While they also still have Kirby Smart in this universe. I mean, he'll probably stick around in real life for the rest of his career if he wants. But sometimes the coaching carousel causes some very unpredictable things to happen in this game. And we're trying to end it here. There have still been some bad throws from Paul Peppers. This one might even be out of bounds. But as the game went on, we continued to just stay in front. And for content's sake, I wish I could sit here and tell you that there's some exciting finish you're going to get, but it's not. There's nothing for me to lock into. Georgia's offense didn't figure things out until like the final 4 minutes. So if we continue to score a couple early touchdowns, we might just move all the way to the championship. We got Pittsburgh coming up, and it is my opportunity to beat them for taking Dante Moore from us. And it's also their opportunity to prove that I shouldn't have been disrespecting them. When I was younger, there was a time in college football where people took them a lot more seriously. And I'm telling you, it has been so easy for us We score a couple early touchdowns, and then from there, our defense just holds on, and we might get another 1 or 2, making it easy for us to come away with a win. This team has finally started to play like the most dominant team in college football, the way it looked on paper. Though I do believe our offense should be better even than we have been for the number of really good receivers we have. And as this one's gone on, it's the typical fourth quarter thing that happens where we start giving up some points, but we're going to force the stop on 4th and 2. That's the game. And we are just 1 win away from getting a national championship with the Ducks. This one is going to be against the Trojans, so you know it's going to be good. And these are the moments that we have been waiting on ever since I just started up this rebuild. It's only year 4, so we still got plenty of time for more success. But we could knock off our second challenge of this video, win the first national championship with Oregon. It doesn't even seem that hard. It feels like something that is so attainable now that it's this close. We just need to actually perform, and we are missing our starting running back still, but it hasn't been that big of a change. We still seem to be in control of every matchup that we're in. That would have been a wild catch. And it was just us trying to turn this drive into a touchdown instead of a field goal. We're in the end zone, 14-0. What a way to open up the championship. There was a point where this game has started to open up a little bit more though, and we are just getting nothing on the ground. So as we approach the end of the third quarter, we have got to continue scoring, and we just got boxed up. One of our best receivers just got locked up. For as good as I was hoping Paul Peppers would be, he does have 2 interceptions in this national championship, and you can't leave him open. We are desperately just trying to get USC off of the field right now. 3rd down, it's another opportunity to do so, but our zone coverage isn't working. Even after getting a sack and putting them on a 3rd and 19, I really didn't trust us to get this hold. But we did, and then they missed the field goal, which is the most important part, because we're still up by 7 points. We're at the 46. And this is where we might just need to start running the football a little bit more. So we'll scramble with Paul Peppers. We'll try and get the first down. Just keep in mind, he has 47 rushing yards, which is more than Russo's been able to do on the ground. And we're just milking away that clock right now. We are in complete control. That's going to be another first. So USC is going to start using their timeouts. Either way, we are getting a field goal out of this drive at the worst. But we decided to just throw the ball there. It made it easy to pick it up. And now we're at the 1. You know that this is the game. There's not going to be much that USC can do, of course, unless they scored a very fast touchdown against us. But I trust our huge corners to make a play. I think once it dawned on me that we had 492 overall corners on this roster or higher, that we should just be running man-to-man coverage. Once we started doing man-to-man coverage, our defense, especially this entire playoff run, has been outstanding. So we have gotten our first trophy in this video, but that is not the only national championship I'm trying to achieve. We might have just got 1 challenge done. We still have these 4 left remaining, and it is time to see how many of our guys were able to retain. We're saying goodbye to Evan Baker and JoJo Kite. Those guys were always going to leave. They were really good receivers. Alex Guy is also going to be gone. We're losing Pat Kellum, who was injured the entire year. Look at how high some of these guys are projected. Some of them, no chance of persuading. But other guys, like this 91 overall junior corner, realizes we could get his draft stock higher, and then he still decided to go on to the NFL. Could we at least get Orlando back? That's going to help out our offensive line a little bit. Bicken, your playing time would be incredible if you just stuck around for another year. And we also could not convince Martin Falk to stay. I guess he enjoyed his opportunity on the field. He's going to use that tape to get a better starting job next year. Losing some of these freshmen as well. Just frustrating. This is why I don't like recruiting 5-stars. But outside of them whining that they didn't immediately get on the field on a national championship winning team, we're also going to see all of these guys graduating. I felt like Hall was an incredible safety for us the last couple seasons. This is a lot of players getting drafted. It's incredible news for Dan Lanning, though, because we're going to get so many upgrades with him since both of our coordinators are talent developers. Every time a player gets drafted, you get huge bonuses towards it. I mean, look at all of these picks. It wouldn't have even made sense if we didn't win the national championship after seeing that. Now we're just going after more of these high-end transfers. If we could get guys from teams like Ohio State, that'd be big. It'd help us win our conference even easier, which is something that we haven't been able to do yet. And the Big Ten is currently considered as the 4th best conference. I don't understand. Just taking a look at what next year's roster is going to be, though, I am a little bit concerned for certain positions, like at wide receiver. Outside of Terrence Cook, we are leaning on a bunch of freshmen that we redshirted to develop, all because we lost so much talent. That's why we needed one of our corners to return, because these are the only corners that we have on our roster right now. I'm not kidding. These are the defensive backs we're working with. This is where that major benefit from having talent developers comes in, though, and having so many players drafted, because we got 55 skill points from it on Roderick Robinson before training results. He already has 55 skill points from other players getting drafted. So if he ends up being like an 88 overall, I would not be shocked. And this is why talent developer is so overpowered. It's the first ability on these guys as well. They just get bonus XP whenever more players at that position are drafted. And we had a lot of that. We are also still trying to find some corners in the transfer portal because we clearly need depth at that position. We'll see how these battles turn out. It's still very early. The best part about using Oregon, though, is all it takes is 2 weeks in the transfer portal for us to get some commits. And by the end of it, we have signed the number 2 transfer in the country. We should have signed the number 1 transfer class with some of the players we brought in. Washington was still able to get this quarterback from us, which means we might have like no quarterback depth on our team next year. But we were still able to sign 33 guys. It might be too many. We might be forcing guys to transfer, so we have more roster spots. It's a top 5 class, high school-wise, number 6 in the country. Transfer-wise, the number 1 transfer class in the country with the most 4 stars by a large margin. So what this means for me is I've now completed half of the challenges in this video. Some of the ones like winning 3 Big Ten championships, though, another 3 national titles, a Heisman, are going to be hard. And I've just 6 seasons to do those, which is why getting elite dev on a receiver is big. Impact for the other 4-star gym. We're going to see elite dev on a quarterback for the first time, though. I really hope he doesn't transfer. He just has to know his role, that he's going to have to sit behind a potential Heisman winning quarterback for a year. We were seeing a lot of normal devs on some of these 4 stars, though, so it might still be better for us to go after 5 stars. I like elite dev on a linebacker. And I'll be the first to tell you, Landry Cleveland did not see his career going this route, but we really do need a 3rd quarterback on this team, so we're moving a gadget receiver over to that position. But he is going to develop into an 86 overall quarterback, which could be another thing that makes our 5-star freshman transfer out. So maybe this was a major mistake, especially since we know his throwing stats aren't going to be any good, though he could max out his speed. And if you just take a look at some of the progression out of these freshmen, it's incredible. I see a plus 13 on cash down there. This team is still going to be really good. It might be better than one of the teams that we had in the first couple years, but I'm not sure if it's better than last year's. It might be more comparable than I'm remembering, though, because it does seem like we have a lot of high overall players. Paul Peppers didn't even come close to maxing out his accuracy either. If he did, he would have been a 99 overall. And would you look at that, to my surprise, our roster size is 87, so we only have to cut a couple of players. This team is just going to continue to get younger, though, so it might be best for us to keep this next class around 20 guys. I think we're going to see some of these juniors to declare early. Even some sophomore red shirts might be gone. But whenever you can get talent like this and they're interested in your school, it is so hard to not just sign as many great guys as you can get. This might be the year where we just get like 4 or 5 quarterbacks. That way in the future, we don't ever run into a problem where there's almost none in our quarterback room. What I've settled on is these 3 players. I think we're going to be able to come away with all of them. Our pipelines are just better when there's competition. And there's also a couple 5-star corners that I really want to sign. We have a 5-star tackle on here, but the rest of our board is still 4 stars, and it's going to be a bit smaller than recent years. I said that we didn't want to get too many guys. So that's where we're at with this. We're going on the road to Oregon State. Just got to get through this game, who we were actually able to beat, even worse than we beat an FCS school by, but we had to get through that game because number 15, Texas Tech, a tough non-conference opponent, has finally generated on our schedule. I don't think that's going to be the one game that we hop into this season. We might play Washington again, but it's certainly an option. I just know that they're only going to be like an 86 overall. We should still beat them in sim, plus every other team on our schedule. We're the best team in the country. There are parts of our roster, like our defensive backs, that are worse than what we had last year, but then our receiving core is so much better. So we're putting up 47 points. Paul Peppers, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. If he could get some rushing touchdowns too, that'll really help his chances at the Heisman. And this next issue is a little bit of a weird one to have, but I've noticed that there is only 1 kicker and no punters that are interested in playing for us next season. The problem with that is both our kicker and punter are seniors, so we're only going to be able to recruit potentially a kicker. We're not also able to get a punter, which seems to be the biggest issue that we're facing so far this year. Recruiting has gone about as well as it possibly could have, and so is our play on the field. We beat UCLA, who's typically pretty solid on Dynasty. We also beat Purdue, though we gave them 33 points. I'm not loving that. Now we have 3 top 25 matchups coming up in a row, where I have to say I'm a little bit surprised coming off of a national championship and being 5-0. We're considered considered the number 5 team in the country. If we beat Ohio State, we'll have an opportunity to prove that we're better, though. These are the 3 players that still have not signed with us. They're all going to sign very shortly. For the rest of them, they are all committed. And it looks like we came up just short against the Buckeyes. They've scored 35 on us just like they did last year, except this time we had a healthy Paul Peppers and he didn't play that well. Don't get me wrong, 400 passing yards is really nice to have, but that one interception he threw probably cost us the win. So now I feel like we have no choice but to play against Michigan, and if we can't win this, we're in trouble. I figured a time like this was going to come as well, where we have to perform really well in the final 6 minutes, or we are going to lose. 3rd and inches, just going to hand this one off again. Trust our really good offensive line. And now we're going to drop back, actually immediately run with Paul Peppers. He gets in the end zone, but we have got to come up with a defensive stop against Michigan. And I knew he was coming. Since we weren't able to stop him from coming, though, now we got to get a hold on 3rd and 3, setting us up to have 2 minutes to drive down the field, win this game with the touchdown, and that might be one of the worst punts I have ever seen. We should not be trying to return this. If I could, I would 100% switch up the play call, but the stadium pulse is just ridiculous. So we got to go with this outside run. It's still going to work decently. And I find it funny, I was so against Max Russo for how he was playing in some of the games last season, but he won us a championship, and he's been all right this year. He just feels really slow. We've had to come around to him, though. Look at that route. Jimmy Stallworth just getting open versus the double coverage, and we're about to be at the 10-yard line. We're fine. This is the exact position we want to be in. This is where we could pick up a major win, keeping our playoff hopes alive. And we have taken down so much clock. It's touchdown or bust. Unless we take a sack, we are going to go for it, even if we get on a 4th down, but we don't need it. It's a clutch finish. We haven't won a Big Ten championship either. I would love to get one this season, and I am just really hoping that by the time we get to the end of this year, we still only have 1 conference loss, because that should be enough to get us to the conference championship. It would also be nice if we could just have a season where we had a really easy Big Ten schedule. That hasn't happened yet, but I think no matter what, we're always going to have Washington on our schedule as a rival, and they beat us. They beat us 34-21, so we're finishing this year 10-2. We're not in the Big Ten championship. What I find really interesting, though, is we're ranked a few spots ahead of Ohio State, who also went 10-2, even though the Buckeyes beat us. So we're luckily going to be a playoff team. They are just getting snubbed. And there's just no way that this is who wins the Heisman Trophy. We have not won it once again, even though I felt like we had a quarterback that was capable of doing so. We'll see his season stats in a second. Clearly, we had the best right guard in the country. Awards like this that help our offensive line, though, are just not what I care to see at the moment. Our playoff game is going to be against the Gators, except it's flipped around this year. We're still the 6-11, except they get the home game. And you know what? It is Paul Pepper's fault that he didn't win the Heisman. His stats weren't good enough. We went 10-2. We should have had a better season than we did. Max Russo had 16 rushing touchdowns, but it looks like he wants to transfer because of pro potential. And over on the receiving side of things, Terrence Cook and Jimmy Stallworth are both probably gone to the NFL draft. They had 11 touchdowns each. They're 92 overalls. Brenton Toner should return. So I think every season, we're just going to be dealing with a ton of changes. With it being early National Signing Day, we are able to see the dev traits of some of the guys that we brought in. Fernandez has gold field general and star dev, so some of these guys could end up starting for us in the future. There were a couple of elite dev guys in here, but mainly lots of stars. And it is time to see if this Oregon team is able to win back-to-back national championships. We did our job in just getting to the playoff. Can we execute is the question. That is going to be what we find out starting at the Swamp with a tough road game. What's nice is in the final few minutes, we have the ball in the red zone, so we're looking to just put this game away. But we are going to need a 3rd and 1 where we run the RPO and we hang on to the ball. Jimmy Stallworth was our best receiver during the season statistically for a reason. We also got a pick 6 with our defense, so it made the score not look close at all. And the good thing about getting Texas Tech in the next round is we already beat them this season. We know that we're better. If we can just repeat what we did earlier on in the year, it is feeling like we are just going to walk straight to the semifinals. And I am expecting us to win this game. If we were to fall here, I would not be happy. At the moment, with 3 minutes left, we are trailing by 4, so we're down, but we have the ball. We have a strong offense. We have to expect that we can finish this game with a touchdown and move on in the playoffs. This is where I like to be in these games. I don't like to be on the other end where we're trying to get a defensive stop, but taking a sack there is really unhelpful. We're going to try and get this ball out immediately. The seam was there. Toner brings it in, and we continue to move down the field. Now we're going to have to juke out this defender, but he's not able to bring down Paul Peppers. So Texas Tech has to start wondering how much time is going to be left on the clock if they are able to keep us out of the end zone. If it is up to me, absolutely nothing. Maybe 5 seconds left if we're being really kind to them. Max Russell, though, isn't going anywhere. And we are not guaranteed a touchdown from this position. We're going to be looking for Tepper. We're going to step up. If Tepper's not there, we'll take the sack. And we might be headed to overtime. Maybe they're going to give us man-to-man coverage here, though. I could have fit that into that window. It's a good throw. We make the catch. And it was Max Russo, our running back, that caught that. He has sent us on to the semifinals. He's trying to get 2 national championships. The playoffs are not kind, though. They just keep on giving us USC, who is a team that's going to be hungry for revenge. On the other side of the bracket, Alabama LSU, you know that's going to be a great game. So there is a lot of talent left in this playoff, and it's not going to be a Mickey Mouse run if we're able to go on and win the entire thing. It would be a well-deserved championship. Even though we did lose 2 games this season, and we know that there are positions on our team that aren't as strong as we would like, I still think that compared to every other roster, we have the best one. And it was only a matter of time before we actually came out and played like it in one of these games. We're trying to get another touchdown here. It's already 14-0. They're calling timeouts. That was smart on their behalf. They are trying to get this ball back before the end of the first half. Our offensive line is just so good. And when you start a game up 21-0, it's not hard to win 37-14. We just maintained our lead really well. So this is it. We could get our 2nd national championship here. It would be a shame if we lost. But at the same time, LSU's had a very good season. They've only had 1 game where they couldn't pull out the win. And I think it's a great time to compare the overalls of our top 10 players versus the Tigers, where we very clearly have an advantage. They have like some 89s on here. There is one position where they have us beat, though. They have a 95 overall quarterback. If they got somebody that is that good, he could lead them to anything. Though for the offense around him to only be an 86 overall, he must not have much of a supporting cast at all, which is great news for us. Where we lack at defensive back, LSU lacks at wide receiver. We actually caught that. And I think this is going to come down to the wire. You can see that with about a minute and a half left in the 3rd quarter, we're all tied up, or we're up by 1, but it's close enough to tie. And we are looking to get that 8-point lead. We might even go for the 2-point conversion, try and make it 9, even though there's no reason to. We're just chasing points for fun, but Paul Peppers is confident that we can pull this off, so we're going to look at the slant. If the slant's not there now, he's going to need to make a play, and he does. It turns out, from that moment, things would just continue to get out of hand. We're throwing up a Hail Mary at the end just to run up the score because we can. They got a pick out of it. But our defense locked down. They had a pick 6. They've had a lot of pick 6s while we're trying to close out games. We win 40-22. That is back-to-back national championships. We have now won 2 of the 4 that we need to win. But as we take a look at this challenges list, I think the Heisman Trophy is going to be a major issue, and even Big Ten championships or 2 more national championships. We have 5 years. We are also going to do something I have never done on this channel before, and that is unlock CEO. This is completely new to me. I have never done this with a coach. We are just going to spend the 35 points it costs to open this up, and now there are all these different things that we can look into. I'm going to find the best ones. I think lasting impression is worth the coach points. We get additional interest every 10 hours we spend on a player. We also get a second persuade on a player if the first fails. I like that a lot. We can increase the chance a player upgrades their dev trait. I like that as well. Are we just going to use every single one? I mean, it's a no-brainer to increase the number of players who can visit in a week up to 8. That's going to be huge for the transfer portal period. I don't really care if players start hot in big games. That could help us clutch up more matchups, though. And I still think we could spend on it anyway. Bonus interest for every player that is taken before visiting you. That is fine here. We could increase all skill group caps by 1 for rising seniors. I like that. This is another one I've taken a look into. This doesn't seem to matter much. Chance at insta-commit when offering scholarships. That already happens, but I think that will increase the chances a little bit more. So there you have it. Dan Lanning is going to be the best coach in the country. I hope that we continue to find success. This is the first season Paul Peppers was fully healthy, and he always threw a lot of interceptions in college, but he had a lot of touchdowns, so we don't care much about it. And would you look at that? We have a high chance at getting some of our corners to potentially return for another season. We also can persuade them twice if they decline us, so this is a chance to use that new ability. First one failed. Did EA even check the text on this? I mean, this looks horrendous, but we failed twice. Okay, so we're not getting 2 corners to return, but are we at least going to get a linebacker to stay? That is going to happen. Transferring due to playing time. Jalen John, you'd probably see the field quite a bit this next season. Let me get another pitch here. and we still fail. You know, we're also going to see the receiver we moved to quarterback, Landry Cleveland, transfer due to playing time, and also Alex Cabral. I don't think there's any chance he comes back. I'm still going to take 2 chances at him. Come on. That is just so annoying, but hang on. Our quarterback has not declared for the NFL draft. We're not done with him. You would think that the job was finished, that Paul Peppers was just done with college, but he's not a senior, so he's not going to be down here with the guys that are graduating. We still have a couple pitches to convince players to stay as well, but I feel like the double persuade has not worked once. And I'm also upset that Max Russo is leaving us for the NFL as a 6th round pick. I think he could have been better if he stuck around. It's okay though. The fact that we got our star quarterback returning, maybe he really wants that Heisman Trophy, is just such a massive deal. We can say goodbye to about 20 more players to the NFL. I feel like we're putting about 20 players in the NFL every season, which is something that we can actually track here. Since we started this dynasty, we've had 90 players drafted, but 128 for Dabo Sweeney. Kirby Smart was at like 114. So I guess we're still trying to catch up to them. We might as well just go for some of these top transfers again. We are doing that basically every single season. But I'm also not going to forget about finding a punter, which means we're looking at the transfer portal. There's not a single 2-star punter that has us in their top 10 either. I guess this team isn't getting a punter. You might think that we would win every single battle, but we still lost out on a running back to LSU, and we also lost a receiver to Ohio State, but they had a tier 5 pipeline. There just was only so much I could do. And I still think the transfers we brought in, like the number 1 receiver, number 2 player in the country, the number 1 defensive tackle, number 5 player in the country with elite dev, stuff like that is going to make a major difference, even if we did lose out on a couple players. Like, you see multiple elite devs. We actually have so many receivers, though, we are going to have to start moving some of them to other positions. So we got a Gadget. I think he's going to make for a great 97 overall running back. If I find a contested specialist, I think he will make for an incredible tight end. So Josh Cummins only doing 87. I kind of figured that we could do better. So that is where Alani Cash comes into play. And I think he is going to have 95 speed, 96 excel at tight end. We are also going to see a dev trait upgrade on Paul Peppers to elite development. We've not seen any dev trait upgrades until we got that ability with Dan Lanning to where they happen more often. So that was nice to see, but he is just a 97 overall. I thought he was going to be a 99 overall, and my thought process is he didn't max out his accuracy. Why would you not max out your throwing accuracy? The computer progression is just so dumb. Don't get me wrong, with his 92 speed, he will be fun to play with, but I really wish he was a little bit more accurate. He's going to miss throws that are just going to frustrate me now. This team is just good. Every single year, our team is going to be good. But how we perform on the field could be a completely different story. We're just starting this season off with like 7 winnable games. I'm probably going to simulate straight to the Washington game while doing some recruiting in between, because that's when the season is going to get hard. And if there were a season for us to win the Heisman Trophy, now would be the season. Both Malik Ingram, our running back, and Paul Peppers, QB1, are going to be up here. Paul Peppers came back to college to win a Heisman. It couldn't be for his 3rd national championship. He wants that Heisman Trophy, which brings me back to an ability I looked over, which is players starting hop in top 5 games against rivals, bowl games, championship games. This is going to be important. Now, I will say, recruiting-wise, we only signed 1 5-star just because I don't know if we're going to be able to get them immediate playing time. We had a couple gyms for our defense. We got some running backs in here and filled some other needs, but I have gotten down to signing over 20 players, which wasn't really the plan. So we might have to cut some players going into next season, or we just won't use the transfer portal. One of the two. We'll still have plenty of players declare early for the draft that aren't supposed to leave because this team is playing incredibly. I don't think we've ever started a season 7-0 since I started filming. But to finish out this season, we still have USC, Penn State, and Washington all on our schedule. We are also currently number 1 in the Heisman race with Paul Peppers. Malik Ingram's down at number 4. He's got 711 rushing yards and 19 rushing touchdowns. So many touchdowns for us being halfway through the year. Paul Peppers' stats honestly aren't better than that. But he has been our main guy leading this offense as well, if we're not getting rushing touchdowns, of course. We have the 10 overall advantage on Washington. Both of us are undefeated. It's a rivalry. Malik Ingram being featured here. In my mind, with how well he's playing, he must be the offspring of Mark Ingram. That's just my thought. He's his son or something. And I have to say, it felt pretty simple for us to win a national championship last season. I think this year, it might be even easier. There is almost zero resistance that Washington has shown us in this game. Maybe this is going to be their first where they do, but they are not keeping Malik Ingram out of the end zone. That is going to be touchdown number 20 He could be going for Barry Sanders' record. Anyway, we would just dog walk Washington. We won 38-13. It's our 54th win in this rivalry. But now we have to simulate to the end of the season with some tougher games on our schedule. Maybe not against Wisconsin, who we beat 41-18, but we still have USC, a road game at Iowa, and a road game at number 5 Penn State on here. So the stakes are high, and I've noticed that we have fallen to number 5 in the country, even though we're undefeated off of the backs of 2 national championships in a row. So I'm just starting to wonder, is it because we don't have 10 wins like Florida and Pittsburgh? How is Georgia rated ahead of us? Clemson is also ahead of us. It doesn't make much sense to me, but we had 4 players on a visit against the Trojans. So if we see 4 commits, that's got me thinking that we won. But here's the thing. I only saw 3. Malik Ingram set the Oregon single season rushing touchdowns record though. And it turns out we were able to win this one 38-24. With 2 games left on the schedule against Iowa and Penn State, we're just going to simulate these 2. I don't have the nerve to sit there and see these results. We have yet to get to a Big Ten championship game, but that is what we have finally done. You know, our combined opponent record was 72-72. Our non-conference wasn't that competitive. There were a lot of games in our conference that weren't seen as big wins for us come end of season, just due to other losses those programs had, but we're 12-0 and the number 3 team after winning 2 championships. So we are not getting the respect that I think Oregon deserves. We should at least be ahead of Georgia. You could make the argument that Clemson had a tougher schedule. They won 80-16 over South Carolina. They might be the team to beat, which has got me a little bit worried, especially since Nate Sampson is competing for a Heisman Trophy just like we are. We could see Malik Ingram come away with it with his 30 rushing touchdowns, 1,200 yards, but it is more likely looking like a Paul Peppers award. Though I do think a lot of that comes down to how we play against the Buckeyes in the Big Ten championship, and if we can win our first one. This game right here is a major deal. We still have to win 3 of them in this video in 5 years, where so far every season we have improved. We went from 9-4 to 9-4 to 10-3, then 14-2 back-to-back years, championships back-to-back years. We could go undefeated winning it all, but we could also slip up. We could literally fall short of winning that Big Ten trophy, a Heisman Trophy, and a national championship all in the span of a couple of weeks. I will say Heisman trophies in this game are very hard to win. So with Malik Ingram getting the first rushing touchdown of the game, it not being a passing one, Paul Peppers is desperately trying to get his here, but it's like they knew that he wanted to scramble. Second down, that could have been intercepted. And here we go. It is now 3rd and goal. He's going to step into a sack, so we got to take 3. But it is moments like that that lose you the Heisman Trophy race, especially if he threw an interception. He is still looking to redeem himself, and by scrambling here, a rushing touchdown would help. Ohio State's defensive line is one of the only ones in the country, though, that is able to keep up with our offensive line. He's not in. They are making it so hard on Paul Peppers to get anything going statistically. He is the greatest quarterback in Oregon history, but he wants that Heisman Trophy more than anything else, and we're ending the first half with a passing touchdown. This game has quickly turned into a blowout. Ohio State is getting smoked, and I knew that this team was good. I knew we were capable of winning the Big Ten, but 52-7, if you told me that, I would have said you were just lying. This is the first of 3 conference championships we have to win, and all of our success has just snowballed really fast. Dan Lanning wins Coach of the Year. It is time to find out who wins the Heisman Trophy, but there might be some other awards we have to get through first. Don't get too excited. There are multiple that pop up before the Heisman, so even if we see Paul Peppers' name, you have to see the Heisman come up to have it confirmed. But it makes total sense to me. He returned to college for the right reason. That leaves us with just 2 challenges left, winning 2 more Big Ten championships and 2 more national championships. And would you look at that? We are playing Texas Tech again. We are seeded as the number 2 team in the country, though. Georgia, for whatever reason, got the 1 seed. I guess that winning the SEC held more value. Now they have to play Ohio State, so that's good for them. We got Texas Tech, who beat LSU, and I kind of figured it was only a matter of time before we lost one of our talent developers, but now we have to find a new coordinator. What I have done is I've gone in and I've looked at every single one of these coaches, but they're all simply just a big step down for us. Now, the Pacific Northwest pipeline is important. I think we're just going to take this OC from Cal. Having a tactician on our side that's going to boost some of our stats more more isn't the worst thing in the world. We're averaging 48 points per game, by the way. We also need to check out some of our season stats before hopping in. But if we were able to beat Ohio State the way that we did, I don't think Texas Tech is going to keep this one even marginally close. 43 touchdowns, 1 interception through the air for Paul Peppers. He also had 8 rushing touchdowns, while Malik Ingram had 31 1,300 yards. Those stats are just nuts to see. We rushed for just as many as we threw for, and Josh Cummins was our number 1 receiver, Antonio Ash our number 2. I think both of them are probably going to be gone, but Cummins could return for another season. But it wouldn't make sense to, considering we're going to be losing our star quarterback. We also saw loads of sacks out of our defensive line, though with an 85 overall getting some of the most doesn't even make sense to me since we had like 93 overalls on it. And those were the guys that were getting like 1 sack a game. They're not on the injury report, so some of our best defensive players didn't contribute much. But it is what it is. It is time to get into this playoff run. To be honest, I don't know if I've done a three-peat on a college football video game since the Grand Rapids series. Typically, I just don't play this long. Maybe I have and I'm just not thinking about it with another series. But that is the expectation that is on my mind on the moment, and anything less would be a disappointment. Our team has taken such a stride forward, such a leap forward, that there might not be like any gameplay to show from this year. We're just dominating everything. And I do want to stop at the end of the 10-year rebuild and just take a look at all the records that were set throughout it. There's been a lot of single season ones like this that I have skipped past, but it might be a good reason to actually use the trophy room feature again. That's something I completely forgot was in the game as well. It'll be a nice recap of our time with Oregon. We got our new OC, and if we are going to three-peat, we are going to have to go through some of the toughest teams in the country because obviously Clemson just annihilated North Texas. I don't know how they beat Notre Dame, and then Georgia handled Ohio State. So those are the teams on the other side of the bracket. We have number 3 Miami. We're still just scoring so many more points per game than every other team in the country. And I have to say, in looking through some of the options you can select jersey-wise with Oregon, I feel like they've fallen off a little bit with the jerseys compared to what they were 5-10 years ago. Don't get me wrong, they're still awesome, but I just wish there was a little bit more variety. It's the only thing that's going to keep me entertained because I'm starting to think I can't do any wrong with this team. It is so easy to score touchdowns. Even when I was making the wrong read, our guys were still catching the ball, and our defense was perfect. They held Miami to 0 points. If we can just beat Georgia here, this could go down as the best team that we've ever had in a rebuild. And I can say that because I feel like it is not often that you get a 98 overall quarterback. He's now a 98 with 92 speed to stick around. Normally, once they get to this point, they're declaring for the draft the year before. I'm just not used to winning games this easily. I'm used to having to save the day once we're down by like 13 in the 4th quarter. But this team sets us up in incredible positions, and Georgia is still ranked ahead of us, so this is our chance to prove that that has been so fraudulent all year. Once you're able to just get on a little bit of a roll winning championships in this game, I feel like it's hard to slow down, though we are going to not go after transfers this season outside of a couple, which could hurt us for a season, but who knows? The good foundation has already been laid. 42-24 at the end of this game. We're trying to get a 4th down stop, which we do. And we might as well try and get Paul Peppers one final touchdown pass before he leaves college. Did I just throw a pick? Is his final pass going to be an interception? What is wrong with me? I threw it into double coverage as a bullet pass, thinking we're going to come out of that with a win. So for no reason at all, Paul Peppers is going to end his career with us. The greatest Oregon quarterback of all time, maybe the greatest college quarterback of all time. If he got another Heisman, it would have been undebatable. But he won 3 championships with the Ducks back to back to back, and he also finally fixed his turnover issue. One of those 2 picks was me. As you can see, this stat line is just out of this world. If he could have played all of his freshman and sophomore year, I mean, these numbers would have been the best guaranteed. But injuries slowed him down at first, and here's another problem we're going to have, which is why I don't want to go after too many transfers this year. It's players transferring because they didn't get playing time this year. So we have to deal with them wanting to leave us. We also have to deal with the guys that are all declaring early for the NFL, and it's going to be a huge hit to our team for next season. I've already accepted that. We got 1 success to stay. We got our 2nd attempt. That one is going to fail. Anyone that is medium, we're just going to see. If we can get lucky, it is worth it. We'll do both attempts. I want to see one of those 2nd attempts work, and it finally did. We got a lot of defensive players coming back. When it comes to some of these transfers, though, I don't think we're going to be as lucky. I mean, it's a low persuasion chance. Both of those failed. These are very low. We still got 4 remaining, but it seems like we're just going to be saying goodbye to guys that could stay and help us out. Hopper is returning, and we're also going to see our tight end come back. He was our backup, so that is nice, but this is a 5-star we recruited last year. I tried to play him. He wasn't happy with the playing time he got, I guess, so he is transferring. You also have these guys graduating. They're in the NFL, and I'm telling you, recruiting 4-stars has been better for us because they don't transfer if they don't immediately get on the field as a true freshman. This is what our NFL draft board looks like. All the players that went on to the NFL. Transparently, there's so many names. I haven't even been reading them most seasons. You have to keep up with so many different players that you only have for a season or two you probably got from the portal, which is something I said we weren't going to use too much of, but I still think we should use it to fill some of our team needs. If we need a couple offensive linemen, it can't hurt. I need to run the numbers first, where it looks like our roster is going to have 62 total players at the moment before we sign players, so we can only bring in 23 if we don't want to encourage anybody to transfer, and it is a little bit of an issue because, as you can see, we have 22 high schoolers already signed. Due to that, I think I'm just going to put players on visits. I'm not going to worry about hard sells. We might stumble into signing a transfer or two, which also might have to do with my Chick-fil-A being like 5 minutes away, but that's just not actually part of it at all. We are signing a lot of these guys still, and I didn't put in like any effort. We literally just scheduled the visits, so we are going to have 29 signees. And it's not enough for us to have the #1 class. In fact, it's the #8 class in the country, but we haven't been signing 5-stars, so I haven't been worried about our class ranking. If there's one position where this team's depleted, though, it's defensive tackle, so we're moving some linebackers down there. And I think you're going to be able to understand why. We have the 5-star #1 defensive tackle in the country that signed with us, but after these guys progress, one of them has elite dev, one with star, so he'll probably be considered on the bench. While we also just have far too many really good linebackers that we could be moving around, like 92 speed, 97 excel makes for a great user. We need to get some outside linebackers too. And would you look at that? This team is still just going to be incredible. Even though I know there are a couple weak spots on this roster, it looks just as good as the past years have. I mean, we're still going to have a 92 defensive tackle, but our quarterback room is a little bit more questionable. Kyrie Johnson is technically the highest overall. We are going to go with John Fernandez, though, as the starter. He's a star dev freshman with that gold field general ability I got so excited about when we first recruited him. He's not a 5-star, he's a 4-star, but we didn't want to go after any other 5-star quarterbacks because that'd cause these guys to transfer. So it's going to be interesting to see the type of season he has. This is why you get elite development as well. Glenn Stewart jumped up 13 overalls in one offseason, and the top of our defensive back room is nastier than the defensive back room we had a couple years ago because we had these 2 5-star safeties that didn't go to the NFL. They stuck around for another year. So Roderick Robinson has 98 speed, and then Leonard Sr. has 97. The one thing I was a little bit worried about, though, was how many players we'd have to force to transfer, and it's 7. So you have to take a long, hard look around your rooms. Like quarterback room, we could probably get rid of one of those guys, but I don't want to go down to only having a couple. Running back, we only have 5. So unfortunately, what ends up happening is you have to get rid of like an 85 overall center because we had no one else to get rid of. Or you have to consider that you already have 1 starting right guard. You don't need 2 seniors that are both a 92. This is someone that could get drafted, though, so I really don't want to have to cut him. But at the end of the day, we did, and this is going to be the most painful cut. We are going to get rid of a senior that would be starting for us at left tackle because this junior could be around for 2 seasons, so it makes sense to invest in that. And I just think it'll really help moving forward if we only use the transfer portal to replace some of these guys. So we're no longer going to do any high school recruiting. We still have 4 seasons left. We need to win 2 Big Ten championships and 1 national championship, which you would think would be possible. I don't understand why our championship contender is still considered an A-, or we're not a full-on 5-star school, 5-star team prestige, because we've won 3 in a row. For whatever reason, they just won't give us the preseason #1 spot in the country, but we know that we should win our first few games. It's once we get to UCLA where things could start to go wrong, but that is not going to happen with this team. I have played a lot of this game. I want to say like 1,500 hours. I have never seen a result with this score. I know that for a fact. 101-2. I don't even know if we have scored 100 points in a game in Sim ever. But apparently so far this team is taking no steps back, so I guess there's no reason to play any games by hopping in. And after scoring 17 points in the 4th quarter against UCLA, taking them down, we're the #1 team. We are about to run into a road game at Ohio State, number 16 Nebraska, number 25 Michigan, number 18 Washington, number 14 USC, road game against Illinois. These next 6 games are all going to be tough. So somewhere along the way, I'm expecting us to pick up a couple of losses. I don't know which one of these matchups I want to play, Maybe we hop in against Ohio State. You would think that they wouldn't pick up their third loss of the year now, but we are going to sim, where we get the exact result we were hoping for, 52-38. We're giving up a little bit more than we would points-wise compared to last year's team. It also looks like we forced a couple of interceptions, though, so our defense is still getting in the hang of things. And I think it's important for us to continue to win, so we're actually going to hop into this one against Nebraska. The expectations on my end are really high, but I don't think I've been appreciating how good we had it with our last quarterback and some of these receivers. I mean, we literally aren't getting open. That basically puts Nebraska in field goal range, already up by 6. We've got to get a sack or force them to lose some yards with the run, which is what we did. We are trusting our man-to-man coverage very heavily right now, but we just got routed up, and they might get a touchdown out of it. With the way they are running this clock down as well, it might be better if we just let them get in already. So we're going to run away from the ball. And that still wasted another 45. So far in this video, I feel like there haven't been very many games where I have to clutch up. But this has certainly been one of those, and the Nebraska pass rush in this game has been ridiculous. We're not going to complete that, which is going to make it 4th and 17. Game on the line. He's open. It's not a great meter, but we're fine. We are still in it for a little bit longer. We just don't happen to have the speed that is going to beat them deep in this game. And we also have to make that catch. We are currently sitting on 3 interceptions, just 2 touchdowns in this game. They're giving us the checkdowns, but I don't want the checkdown. I want the big play. We're going to look at our slant. If it's not there, we just run. And if we could get some match coverage, if we could get some man-to-man coverage, I trust that we're going to get open with that corner route. Cover 2 works as well. The comeback is on. We could still stay undefeated. We just will need a defensive stop. But for whatever reason, we did go for the onside kick. So they are starting this drive near the 40. And on 3rd and 8, they ran it again, which is expected. This punt is looking really bad, but it went out of bounds in the end zone. So here we go. Minute 10 on the clock. Trailing by 5. We could have had the post there. But keep in mind, Fernandez is very young. He's inexperienced. And he is only a freshman. So if he can't clutch up, it is what it is. It is now 4th and 10. I want Cash to be our first read. Cash is very fast, but it's underthrown. It's underthrown. He literally had the step there. We should have been able to get that. Well, I certainly have not helped this team by hopping in and playing at all, so simming to the end of the season shouldn't be a problem for us. And I gave the warning for a reason that we might take a step back this season because we're not going for a 4-peat. We lost to Michigan. We lost to Michigan State to end the year. The Michigan schools have ruined our season. We would have been a playoff team if we beat Michigan State, who went 5-7. That is just frustrating to see, and we are level 100. I've never had a level 100 coach before on this game. We have to see what we want to spend on. It's the only thing I care about now. I guess first-round projected players less likely to leave would be a good thing for us. We could also upgrade some of our pipelines if we wanted. I'm not sure if we need it. But you know what? We might as well just spend a little bit in tactician. We're going to make our offensive line get as many stat boosts as possible. And now we are going to be out of points for the rest of this video. In the last 3 seasons now, we're going to have to somehow win 2 Big Ten championships and a national championship. I honestly think it's going to be more likely that we just get a national title. The Big Ten championships have been hard, but we didn't do ourselves any favors by losing to Nebraska. Trey Dercher, the Pittsburgh quarterback, won the Heisman Trophy, so they're still having success. I am sure they're going to be a playoff team. Alani Cash was the best tight end in the country. He had so much speed, but he is going to have to finish out his career playing in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, which has just got to be the biggest letdown. You know, by this point, I don't even care to hop into the bowl game. If we lose to Miami, oh well. We seem to do a little bit better in sim anyway. It's nice to see we came out on top. And it looks like we were able to rush for 200 yards on them. We had so many more total yards of offense, 52 points. So we played very well. John Fernandez had a solid game. But what did he do throughout this season? Well, his ceiling is so high. It might be higher than any other quarterback ever because he threw for almost 50 touchdowns in 13 games, almost 5,000 yards, but he had 15 interceptions. He was also able to rush a little bit on the ground, not as much as we would hope for, but if he can just get rid of those interceptions and some more passing touchdowns, his ceiling is nuts, like I was saying. So many rushing touchdowns out of our 2 running backs, though, but both of them are seniors, so they will not be back, just like Conrad Sorensen, our number 1 receiver, will not be returning. Ben Warmack's a 93. He's not coming back. Anthony Crook should, though. And for whatever reason, the bracket isn't showing us who won the national championship, so there's no way to tell. Well, I figured if I looked at the history, maybe that would have it there, and Michigan beat Pittsburgh, so Pittsburgh still hasn't gotten a national championship. championship. The Wolverines took us down this season. They deserved it, but they snapped our streak. And honestly, what I am most afraid of is looking at the screen that is about to come up, because since we didn't have that good of a season, I'm going to expect more players to want to declare early, but actually, this is the least amount we have ever seen declare early, so maybe our team just wasn't that good. Some guys are staying, and I really would love if the sophomore corner would also stay for his senior year. We still got 2 persuasions. He failed both of them. We're not going to be able to get Deion Sims to come back. He's just amazing. But would you look at that? I started just spamming some of our attempts, and we got both DJ Yates and Bryce to return for our defensive line for their senior year. We weren't able to get Ben Wormack back, but our defensive line is going to be nuts, especially since it looks like we didn't lose anyone else on it to graduation either. Our defensive back room has taken a step back, but we have more returning talent than I was expecting, which is an odd thing to say whenever I was just glazing how good our defensive backs were, and now all of them are gone. We're still going to find that in the portal. With those spots opening up, I am sure that we'll have no issue replacing them. 2 5-star transfers, both of them interested in our program. We might as well just add them to our board. And it looks like we're going to have enough hours to go after 20 players. If we had a little bit more, or we weren't putting 65 on some of these guys, we could try and sign a couple extra players, but this is what the board is looking like. And I am already prepared to spend like 30 minutes just going through soft selling for everybody, trying to figure out what their hard sell is as fast as possible. And it's going to take a while, but I'm thinking that we could sign like 15 of these players. Well, it has not taken long to start seeing our first commits. Literally just 2 weeks in, all I had to do was just send them on a visit, basically. It didn't even matter if I figured out their hard sell or not. So I guess technically we could look back in the transfer portal and see if there are more players that we want to sign, since we're about to have a lot of hours that have freed up already. And I know for a fact it should lead to us signing a couple extra players. For most of these guys that are interested though, other schools offered scholarships, so that's a little annoying, but we need to get some quarterback depth, which that'll help with, and Maurice Hare is just another receiver. It does make me happy to see us bringing in 5 stars through the transfer portal as well, not just 4 stars, because the 5 stars are so rare. So when you're signing the best guard in the transfer portal and one of the top players, it kind of just takes away the pain of losing one of these guards to Tennessee. It's the only battle that we lost for any transfer. I just feel like that is nuts to say, because typically you can only sign like 10 to 12 really good transfers, though it is not going to be good enough to give us the #1 recruiting class in the country since we didn't touch high school. It is going to give us the #1 transfer class by a very wide margin, but what we're going to have to find out is if that is worth it or not, and if that can get us one last championship. I didn't realize Alani Cash returned for his senior year. That is major news. I was trying to find Isaiah Morris. He's coming in as a 94 transfer. Redwine is a 93. And I noticed we only had 4 running backs, so I was hoping there was a gadget player in here to move over there so we could have another guy at that position. It's not going to happen. You can tell that we have almost no depth at this position, especially after this next season. At tight end, it's the same thing. But the cool thing about John Boyko is he could stick around running for us for a couple of years, and he has 98 speed. He needs to get his shifty up. That's an ability that he can max out in the future. Apparently, he still had 4 skill points to spend. I'll spend 2 of them. But then it hit me. I was looking at all the player overalls before we went to training results. So our guys are going to be even better than what I was just seeing. Once we get to training results, it looks like these guys are going to cap out around a 98. I don't know why it's not showing any progression out of them, but maybe they'd already reached their skill caps. John Fernandez is going to be a 90. So what that means for the sophomore is his abilities still aren't developing that much. His accuracy is going up though, and it looks like his quickness is now an 86. This is also probably turned into the most loaded receiving room that we've ever had, though it's not a great thing because guys like Prince, who are a freshman as a 90 overall plus 14 overall jump, he is going to want to transfer because he's going to be our 6th receiver. And we might currently be working with the best roster overall that we have ever had just because of how good our defensive line is. Our offensive line has like 10 guys that are above a 93 overall, which is why Texas Tech as a non-conference game isn't going to worry me at all. We just simmed right through it. We won 48-21. We're probably going to simulate to this game against Nebraska near the end of the season. We'll scope out the type of year we've had, if we're going to be in the playoff, what all's going on. But that is a far way in the future in week 12, and the only reason we can do this is because I've committed to only recruiting in the transfer portal. Now I have to say I am pretty proud of where we're sitting by the time we have gotten far into the future. We're 7-0 in Big Ten play, just like Nebraska and USC, so if we slip up once, like losing to the Cornhuskers, we're not going to be in the conference championship, but we're undefeated. And I was hoping that we would also find that there was one of our players in the Heisman Trophy race, but that just isn't the case. Why does Joe President seem like such a common name? I feel like Joe President was an NCAA football 14 last name. Like half of the recruits had it. That has to be the reason that it's just clicking to me as something I have seen before. Nebraska, 94 overall, 96 offense on the road. We know it's not going to be the easiest win. But I also went into this season saying our overall roster, especially depth-wise, is the best we've had this entire rebuild so far. So we should be able to win. It doesn't mean that we will, though. Here at the end of the game, we're trying to get in field goal range. They've certainly not made our lives easy, but I still feel like we're in complete control. And it's time to use that 98 speed on Boyko, but he didn't have anywhere to go. This is a really, really important 3rd and 6. I feel like we might go for it if we weren't going to convert. But Redwine gets open. The transfer is making an impact. He came from Nebraska. And I'm really not too sure why he left in the first place, but we're trying to show him that he made the right decision. What a run. The Cornhuskers still have all 3 of their timeouts left, though, so we might as well just score now. They're going to start using them. And you can see that with 24 seconds left, they need some big plays to tie it. We're in a really good position right now. Watching the tight end. We should have been able to knock it out at the very least. But our users clearly not being respected at all by the computer. There's a sack. With no timeouts remaining as well, the clock is going to continue to run. We're going to stay back here in this cover 4. I'm hoping nothing gets thrown off because it is a match coverage. He's not open. He's not open. So that is it. I don't know why he is sitting here celebrating, pointing to the logo. Buddy, you lost. That win is going to send us into Washington as an 11-0 team. We could stay undefeated if we just beat the Huskies. And would you look at that? We have an opportunity to win our 2nd Big Ten championship. This has just been an incredible season so far. We basically doubled the score on them. So we just need to get one more win here. We'll have a 1st round bye in the playoff. We are setting up for another championship run. And all it took was us having a down year to develop a lot of the talent that was on our team already. The offenses have been pretty non-existent in this game, though. Even they're dropping passes. So this 4th and 12 does it. If we get the Trojans off of the field, which we're going to do, they're in a horrendous position. They are still down by 10 points, and we're going to look to run out as much clock as we can. You know, I wish John Fernandez was a little more accurate. He is faster, though. So that was a meaningful upgrade he had during the offseason that has helped the type of year that he's had. Where after a throw like that, you should not be surprised we went on, finished off our drive with a touchdown. USC would score at the very end, but it won't matter. And not only have we taken home our 2nd Big Ten championship, but Dan Lanning's taken home his 2nd Coach of the Year award during this dynasty. We're going to see another Heisman Trophy out of a Pittsburgh quarterback. I think it's the same player. He lost in the national championship last year, so he's going to look to win. And Alani Cash won that award 2 years in a row as well, so our tight end is a monster. But this is what I was most interested in. Who are we going to be playing in the quarterfinals? Notre Dame. The Fighting Irish just took down Michigan by 12. Our side of the bracket has Pittsburgh on it. It has Georgia. The other side with an undefeated Oklahoma State. I'd be upset if I were them getting shafted out of a 1st round bye. But undefeated Alabama's over there as well. Nebraska's on that side of the bracket. So this entire playoff looks incredibly competitive. It's going to be hard for us to win that title. But I feel like I've said everything's been hard throughout this video, and we're sitting here with 3 national championships in 7 seasons, looking to go for our 4th in 8. So it's not been too bad. With our star receiver, he literally beat the press like 3 times, making this the easiest win ever. For whatever reason, they pressed the #1 transfer, and Mo Redwine just decided to feast off of it. We won 41-15. I also forgot I have to check out our season stats. John Fernandez still threw 9 interceptions. If he just cut that number back, he would have maybe even won the Heisman Trophy, but he doesn't seem to be able to do that. He's still not rushing for that much. And John Boyko better return next season because he just sat behind James Bender, who was a 97 overall by the end of the year. Then we had 3,000-yard receivers, 3 of them. That is just wild to see. Looks like Mo Redwine is now a 98 overall. All of these guys are gone to the NFL. So with the way things are looking, we're actually losing a lot of talent after this year. And I don't think I have ever seen this happen before, but every single team that has made it to the semifinal of the playoff is undefeated. This is the best of the best. We have never had any playoff look this competitive before, but we also haven't walked into a playoff with a team like this one before. And I've said a lot about the Panthers in this video. I've been given my respect, though. They've been a very good program. So this is what we deserve. We deserve to be trailing to them by 10 in the 4th quarter. This check down might not get us the 1st down. We had to go for it on 4th. Fight for it. Fight for it. We're fine. I genuinely just cannot believe we're in this position right now. But Redwine is going to get that separation. What did I tell you about Redwine? He runs straight underneath it. And you just have to imagine all these high overalls can lock up on a 3rd and 7. There's no way. There is no way. Trey Archer might be a back-to-back Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, but we cannot let him knock us out. And there it is again. Are they going to have safety help? No, it's cover one. It is cover one. Mo Redwine's gone. Mo Redwine is gone. Mo Redwine is the greatest receiver we've had this entire video. I don't even like elusive route runners as receivers either. I think it's the worst archetype you could get. But in this situation, that's just not the case. And this is just a collapse out of Pittsburgh. Honestly, if we were to audible to a verticals here and we were to put Cash on a streak and we were also to put Redwine on a streak, we might be looking at a touchdown. We're looking at a touchdown. Why on earth would you be sending 8 here? We might not have got all the way there on that one play, but you know we're going to get there in the next couple. And this could be the perfect scenario for Boyko. He's going to take this handoff and he's just going to explode nowhere. He did not feel like he had 98 speed there, 99 acceleration. Our drag just got bumped, so we're going to have to settle for a field goal. We're still only up by 7. Luckily, I think we can trust our defense in this situation, except I just left their running back so open. And as they keep on flipping the play, they know that we're going to be in man-to-man coverage, but we're getting the sack. So that's kind of been the game plan. Get the pressure on them on first down. Maybe we're able to force them to lose some yards. And then from there, it'll be very hard to convert. Right before the 2-minute warning, Pittsburgh actually used their first timeout. On 3rd and 12, they've got us beat deep, but we're over there. We're over there. Come on, just give us the interception. I was trying to trust our man-to-man coverage. Looks like their running back's going to be blocking for him here. And it's double coverage again. It is double coverage again. This time Span comes down with it, which means we are just one first down away from another national championship game. You know, ever since we lost to Duke in the first round, I think every single playoff run has resulted in us winning a national championship. So I'm hoping that is the case here. That would be all the national championships I wanted to win in this video. And he's gone. He is gone. What a play call. What a throw. We are going to handle things smart, though, and go down short. John Fernandez finishes with 460 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. We're not going to ignore the 1 interception. I'll acknowledge it, but it's not that big of a deal if we win. And it's going to be Oklahoma State in the national championship game. They beat Alabama. They're proving they deserved a first-round bye. That was not what I was expecting to see. I have a feeling if we compared our roster to theirs, it would be just drastically different. So let's just see. We now, with our tactician bonuses and our upgrades throughout the year with our guys getting better, 4 99s on the team. I've never had that before. Our top 10 is literally full of 96 overalls and higher. This is just wild. So keep in mind, by the time I've gotten to like this point, I think I literally scrolled through like 40 players. Meanwhile, their roster drops off to that spot after about 10. They just have 4 extremely overpowered guys. Don't get me wrong. There are some superstars on this Oklahoma State roster that could make some plays. They're averaging 47 points per game. Clearly, they are a very talented team. But I might have just showed you one of the best rosters you've ever seen on this game. It's one of the best rosters I've ever had because I don't typically play with the big schools. I don't typically just get to sign a bunch of 4 and 5 stars easily. This is where somebody superstar is going to have to make a large play as well. And he knocked it out. That was theirs. 5 minutes left. We're going to have a 6-point lead. We just haven't played that well. But I'll tell you this. Our defense is strong. We got a sack on first down. I just have to trust that we are going to get the Cowboys off the field. And if we're able to do that, then I don't see a world where they even get this ball back. Just wrap up. I didn't even click on. I'm a win. I also don't think that was their starting quarterback. Yeah, Eric Redfield got injured in this game, so that has helped us out a bunch. Meanwhile, we were completely healthy. I mean, what else do you want them to do? I'm not feeling that 98 speed on Boyko still, though. Looks like we got a first easily. So this is where the Cowboys are going to start using their timeouts, and we'll take getting close. That is best case scenario, because if we pick up another first down, this game is just over. We're short. So it all comes down to this, and I'm not sure if a jet touch pass is the right decision here. It's not. It is not. They also hit us with an injury timeout, which is just dumb, but it would give the Cowboys a little bit more time. I had to lock in for this field goal. Okay, it's going to just sneak in. However, don't count out the Cowboys yet. Their backup quarterback has marched them down the field, just waiting on him to make a mistake, and it's an overthrow that is going to do it. We have to go for the return. We had to go for the return. I told you all John Fernandez was going to be the next guy up to get us a national championship, and that's exactly what he has done. We have now completed every challenge in this video but one. Somehow, we have won 4 national championships before getting 3 Big Ten championships. We still need to win one more. And I have to say, none of this would have been possible if I decided to run a triple option offense. I'm only saying this now because I'm reading the comments on the video I just dropped as I'm filming this. It was playing a perfect quarterback on a military school. Everyone can see I am not good at running the triple option. Yes, I know, I was bad. That has just always been a common theme on the channel. I'm just not the best at the game, and you're gonna have to suck it up and deal with it. We're trying to convince a couple of these guys to return so we can get that last Big Ten championship. Looks like Jamal Augustine will. And we had some success convincing a right tackle and receiver to return as well. We're losing those linebackers. Not too many guys going on to the NFL early. Just some of our big name receivers like Mo Redwine, Anthony Crook, and Kareem Richell. So we might need to really work on our receiving core during the offseason, though I think we recruited knowing that this day would come. We are saying goodbye to Alani Cash. As a 94 overall, he's going to be a second-round pick. There's just so many guys that graduated. And we had 7 first-round picks in total. This might be the most players that we've put into the NFL, though maybe not. The list ended kind of soon. If you're wondering if we have passed up some of these other coaches like Kirby Smart and Dabo Swinney who have stayed at their respective schools, now we have not passed up either one of them. They are still both ahead of us, but we did beat out Ryan Day, who's at West Virginia. And it is time for us to once again go crazy in the transfer portal, trying to sign about another 20 players. We were only able to get 1 5-star this time, an offensive lineman, but we brought in a gadget receiver. Titus Duggan could be a huge name for us this next year, and any of these players could actually stand out a lot. We don't know until we get into the season. But instead of going for only 20 guys, I actually went for 29 and started to add some 3-star transfers as well, just to add to our depth. What I realized was we still have 2 years left in this rebuild, so we need guys that are going to stick around. Duggan has upgraded his dev trait, and he is not the only player either. Another transfer has. I am very curious to see who some of our best receivers on this team next year are going to be. I still think it's going to be Duggan. We got a 99 overall Orlando Leach playing linebacker for us. But this is what I was more so focused on. It's these receivers. Titus Duggan is wide receiver 2. It looks like Prince is slightly better. I probably could have moved one of the gadgets over to running back, but they're so high overalls I couldn't. Then, of course, we have to check out quarterback John Fernandez. Most likely his final season in college. We're going to have a plan for what to do in season 10 when he is no longer with us. But basically, all you need to know about this team is it is incredibly good. We're actually set up to lose 30 seniors plus any players that declare for the draft early, so we're probably going to have to replace all 35. It is going to come in the transfer portal, though. I'm already committed to that. Looking at our schedule for the season, I think we're simulating straight to week 9. USC would be a huge game for us. All these other teams beforehand, I'm not worried, even though there was a season where we lost to Michigan State. So let's just go ahead, get into this year, and see where we're standing. While we just sit here and wait for us to get to that point, I'm curious, how many of you all play your dynasties this far into the future? I feel like after you win so many championships, it just gets kind of boring. Like, we basically just understand that we should be beating every single team that we face. Wisconsin did give us a scare, so those upsets could come, but it has not come yet this season. If we beat USC, we're probably just going to close out the year winning all these. So I guess we'll see what happens against them here, but I'm just expecting another win. We've made it so far into the future with so much success already, and I don't think there's a win out there that could beat the feeling of winning our first title. We were trying to hold USC to 0, but we just gave up the first touchdown. So even when our offense was having a slow day, I was just playing the game of, are we able to hold them scoreless? That's what I was more locked in on. By the time that we reached the end of the season, we won every single one of these games. So we're going into the Big Ten championship as the #1 team in the country, undefeated. Where from the looks of it, everybody that has been super solid throughout this dynasty is still at the top of the conference, where you got a lot of teams that have been at the bottom that have not been able to move up at all. We are literally just 1 win away, though, from completing every single challenge. And there was a point where these Big Ten championships were hard to come by, but recently we've been running through our schedule. So I'm pretty surprised, with less than a minute left on the clock, we are losing to Michigan, and we're going to need some huge plays like this one. Just like that, we are on the right side of midfield, 46 seconds to go, about 46 yards. But you could see that coming from a mile away. We're going to have somebody open here. We're going to lose the Big Ten. We're going to lose the Big Ten. We have one season to win the conference. That was not how I expected that to go. I guess we can still redeem ourselves trying to win a title. But I genuinely believe we might have just been better off if I didn't hop into that one in the first place. Rice had the best receiver in the country, winning the Heisman Trophy. I mean, what a season out of him. Marvin Virgin, best defensive player in the country. 14.5 sacks is just incredible, but our star defensive tackle that is 7.5 sacks is injured. So if Cal is not back for the playoffs, that's a bit of a problem. John Fernandez had 7 interceptions, 46 touchdowns. He always has had a decent bit, but it's the least amount he has thrown in a season. I do believe he's either going to transfer or declare for the draft. He's not sticking around due to his deal breaker, because apparently our championship contender's only an A-, even though we have won so many national championships and we're still a top 4 team. I don't understand it at all. Boyko did not have a good season running the ball. This is actually a horrendous season for receiving yards too. So that could be some of the issues we're running into. Our offense has taken a step back, where we are now being thrown up against Georgia, and if we can beat them, it's either Pittsburgh again or Auburn. We also lost our other talent developer, so I guess we're just looking to hire another tactician, whichever one we can get. But none of these guys fit that mold, so this is going to be the best that we can find. Just think back to when we had 2 talent developers as our coordinators. That is when Oregon was in their prime in this video. Not that we're out of our prime now. We're coming off of an incredible year, and we could still even win the national championship. That loss to Michigan has just thrown me off. You know, best case scenario, what could happen for this team is they take it very personally and get upset about the loss, which is what has happened here. We're up 38-9, looking to make it even worse. So what this reminds me of is the time years ago when we smoked Ohio State in the playoffs. Georgia just scored a couple touchdowns at the end to make it closer. Well, I'm not surprised it is Pittsburgh in the next round. We continue to face them, but to be honest, this is kind of best case scenario because they don't ever beat us. So I will gladly play the Panthers, where if we can even play half of the way that we did against Georgia, this will be cake. I really don't know what it was about Michigan. They just got the best of us in one game, because every other matchup we just don't struggle. They're trying to keep us out of the end zone on 4th and goal, but they can't. And either way, it was over long before that. Pittsburgh wasn't winning. You know, there was one team I was hoping to not see in the national championship, though, and we got them. So this is it. Are we going to get our revenge for losing to Michigan and making it so we still have not completed the challenge of winning 3 Big Ten championships? That is the question we're about to find out. Was it just an unlucky game? Was it a fluke? Or is Michigan actually the better team this year? There's only one way to know, and I have to say the fact that I have not worn these jerseys once so far in this video is criminal. I'm sorry. I have to admit, though, I'm genuinely just defeated. We have barely moved the ball against Michigan. I was really hoping we weren't going to give up another touchdown, but to get the ball back, we did. And we keep on trying to find the seam. We should have done this earlier. We're going to lose to them twice this season. They are going to be the team that ruins our year, unless we can get incredibly lucky with the onside kick, and we did. The question becomes, can we force them into making mistakes? And we can't. We couldn't even shoot that run properly. They're going to have a field goal. Here we go. It's now 3rd and 5, and he breaks off a tackle, but they're kicking. They are kicking. And if he misses this, we would be in decent field positioning, but he doesn't. If we're being real, what we are going to need to have hope is literally like an instant touchdown. We caught it! Hang on. We actually got to lock in. This game is not completely over. We're going to look for the comeback route, or we're going to look for our slant. That's not great. We needed to get in there. The clock is still running, and there it is. Okay, for the 2-point conversion, we're going to look, and he's not open. Okay, that does it. If we now recover this onside kick, I'm actually just going to be so salty. But Michigan would have had it either way. So that does it. We don't win a 5th national championship. We have one more season to do so. Though we almost needed that because it just felt like we were winning everything no matter what. From here, what we really need to have an idea on is which players are gone and which players are coming back. I would love to get one of these quarterbacks to return. John Fernandez, you know you want to do it. He does not. Greg Yeast has been developing. He's an 88, but he's not happy either. So he is gone. We actually got lucky in convincing one of these running backs to return. We'll take that. We're going to convince 2 of them to return, and we can try and get one of these guys to not go on to the NFL. Martin Wells is probably our best bet, but he's gone. Outside of those guys, then we have our 30 seniors as well. This is just a lot of losses. This is going to take a huge toll on our team. So from here, I just have to figure out what positions we need to work on before next season. Quarterback Bryce Garvin, we signed during last year's transfer portal period. He was out of high school. He was an athlete. We got lucky that he is an 82 overall now, but he still would not be the ideal starter. But if there's anything that concerns me right now, it's the fact that we need a kicker or a punter. and at least there are some punters available that we can move over to kicker. We just need at least one. For everything else, I'm sure we'll be able to find it in the transfer portal. Paul Snow would be a great transfer to snag, so we're going to go after him. I feel like we had him signed at one point. And due to one of the abilities we got with Dan Lanning in the CEO archetype tree, where we're able to put 8 players on a visit in a week instead of 4 and just stack all the complementaries, we're having more success than ever. For doing well in the portal period, if you can use that effectively, it's honestly all that you'll need. You will win so many battles that you wouldn't have otherwise. As you can see, we didn't lose a single one here. So we filled the holes that we needed to on this team. We have 4 guys that are a 98 overall or higher. I mean, this roster is always going to just stay being good. This is ridiculous. Even look at that run of corners. At quarterback, we have a couple 91 overalls. Whichever one plays better will start. Where these are the guys that they're throwing the ball to, so I'm not too concerned about whether or not we're going to have success. I mean, the offensive line looks really solid. Our final year should be special. And after 2 losses to Michigan last year, I think what we might have learned is we could be better just simulating with this team. Our schedule doesn't look that bad, so we're going to simulate the entire season. That is with the expectation that by the time we get to the end of it, we will be in the Big Ten championship. If we're not, I'm going to be disappointed. Sure enough, though, at the end of the season, in a 3-way tiebreaker, we've been gifted the spot to play against USC in the conference championship, so we are very lucky. And it's going to be an opportunity for us to take them down since they almost doubled the score against us and handed us our only loss throughout the season. For my Minnesota fans that are watching, I know you all saw that 77-7 game against you all. I'm not just going to let that slip by. But we do have more important matters on our hands because I could be fully successful in this 10-year rebuild and complete every single challenge if we win. But we are going to have to clutch up here at the end of this game, and it's not that hard to do so when you have star receivers if they catch the ball. I'm 10 years deep at this point playing with a team that is so overpowered in recruiting. My mind is gone. We have had it on easy mode this entire video, and I want to see some touchdowns. I'm not even worried about running out the clock because we're going to score anyway. We're even going to go for this 2-point conversion. We're going to have a speed option to the outside. We're going to pitch it, and Chosen is in. Was that Heisman shifty? That could be a ton of fun to play with. We almost picked that. And USC has no choice but to kick a field goal with 30 seconds left and then try and get an onside kick, so they still have a chance at beating us. This is it. Our hands team could end this game right here, and that is going to be every challenge complete. So if you thought I was going to fail with Oregon, well, you would be wrong. Though we could still overachieve on the number of national championships that we get. And has it really happened again? Pittsburgh has another Heisman Trophy winner. We'll probably run into them in the playoff, just like we always seem to. We keep on getting the Outland Trophy too. But I don't really care about that. We got Oklahoma. We're the 1 seed, where we are set up on the same side of the bracket as USC. Pittsburgh got knocked out by Oklahoma State. And before our game, we just had to look at Troy Muamba's stats. 58 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. How is he not winning the Heisman Trophy with numbers like this? That's better than what the Pittsburgh quarterback put up. He had 6 rushing touchdowns as well. But the reason he was able to have that much success through the air was the receiving core I was telling you all about. All of these guys over 1,200 yards, 23 touchdowns for Britton Loudermilk. We might have picked him up in the transfer portal. I don't remember. While defensively, Cal Casey Vensky stuck around. He's not injured this season. He had 14 sacks, so he replaced the sacks that we lost with last year's team. And we're ready for our game against Oklahoma. 5 national championships in 10 seasons is still possible, but we have to be able to win a few. And that would be overachieving what I thought was going to be possible in this time frame, just with the way that I set up the challenges for this video. I'm definitely very concerned about how this game could end though. There was a moment we were up 19-0, and now we are sitting here on a 3rd and 7, just trying to get the Sooners off of the field. That is when I noticed it though. John Fernandez, our quarterback from last year, the quarterback that won us a national championship 2 seasons ago, is back there playing for the Sooners, and he could have just thrown the game winner. Granted, all we have to do is get in field goal range, and we're going to be okay. 98 speed on Dom Miles doesn't look like it. And we have to make sure that he doesn't end this video beating us. That would just be such a horrible way to go out. And we're going to catch it with Loudermilk. I'm going to be honest, I just let that one fly, and it was there. We're going to let this one fly, too. Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay, we got 3 timeouts. We got 3 timeouts. Do not panic. I have not adjusted to this year's game somehow still, because on last year's game, he would have just stuck with the streak. He wouldn't have played that ball. Or maybe it was NCAA Football 14 that worked like that. Either way, I'm making excuses. Y'all are going to grill me. You all are going to grill me in the comments. I didn't call a timeout. This isn't even funny anymore. We just wasted time. We still only need a field goal. It depends how good their punter is, where my confidence is going to be. 25 seconds to do it. You know what? How is he catching us? Okay, all it's going to take is one big play. We know Miles is fast. I'm curious who's going to be marked up on him. Let's just take this drag, get out of bounds. Then we could look to do something similar, maybe a halfback angle route. Is that enough? It better be enough. I don't think we're getting off another play. Keep in mind, we have a freshman kicker. This is a 51-yarder to stay in the playoffs. Do we have it in us to hit a kick like this? The freshman, the meter disappeared. But I'm good at these field goals. I have so much confidence that it's going to have enough distance. So even though I almost blew that there at the end, we're going to come out on top. It is all okay. Where sure enough, it is the Trojans that we got a rematch against. This is the third time we're playing this season. With a spot in the national championship on the line, I would just love to end this video strongly with Oregon. Though this game is taking place at the Rose Bowl, so a lot closer to USC than us. But will that make a difference at all? We're about to find out, because here at the end of the game, we are currently trailing by 7 points. We're going to try to drive down the field. I might even go for a 2-point conversion. There is absolutely no shame on my part if we avoid overtime. Okay. Okay, lock it. Don't get me wrong. This has been a long rebuild, but there is no reason for that interception there. Could I be a little bit tired? Maybe, but we are going to get this football back. Try and run the ball. Try and run the ball and see what happens. I just stepped offside. This literally could put them back in field goal range. I don't think we have had a collapse like this at the end of a video. I mean, you all saw how that last game went. We're lucky we even got out of it in the first place. Gonna have to make the tackle here, and we do! So this is it. 3rd and 10. I'm being put on an island. And that's it. Not the ideal way for our season to end, but you know what? We achieved everything. And it does mean that we actually peaked like 4 seasons ago. Troy Muamba was the best quarterback stat-wise that we've had. He set another record. But it doesn't matter if you throw for 5,500 yards and 59 touchdowns if you don't win a title. This is the point where we have to check in on some of the records that we were able to set throughout this video, though, because Josh Cummins was a great receiver for us. Jeff Short this year as a receiver was able to get the most receptions. But we knew Malik Ingram's name was going to be in here for that season where he just went off rushing touchdowns wise. Also Marvin Virgin, that's another player we put in the book. Britton Loudermilk. Though on the game side of things, we didn't have as many records. John Fernandez was in our record book, so was Titus Duggan. And Decorian Moore from the beginning was in here career-wise just like John Fernandez. By the way, I still cannot believe that he transferred to Oklahoma if he wanted to play another season of college football. He could have just rode it out with us. LSU won the final national championship. But at least over the last decade, we were still the most successful team in college football. We won 4 national championships. The only team to come close to that was Michigan with 2. And Dan Lanning went 172-30 throughout the course of this video with me taking over, though I think that factors in some of his time at Oregon as well. Just seeing how many winning seasons it is displaying right there. We had 171 players get drafted, which is still 2 less than Dabo Sweeney. He had 173, but we did have the most first-round picks. This is just a nice little layout of the 10 seasons that we spent with the Ducks in this video. And I promised we could also take a look at our trophy room that is most likely filled up more than any other video I have ever done, because I've already counted 16. This is going to bring us up to 24. This gets us to 40. Never mind, that gets us to 32. My math is way off. Then this takes us to 40. This takes us to, I don't know. It's weird how it's all moving. There's a lot of trophies in here to be grateful for. But the one to highlight the most is the Heisman Trophy. Paul Peppers was my favorite player throughout this dynasty. But let me know in the comments who your favorite player was throughout this 10-year Oregon rebuild. If it was Paul Peppers, if it was someone else. And I hope you all enjoyed this, because if you did, I'll do it more with other big schools for 10 seasons.